Welcome into Sports Time. No Brett today. Bryant, Darian, Landon, we're with you for these next 3 hours. A lot to get into today after a busy weekend in the sports world. The Tigers beat Ole Miss Saturday on the hardwood. We had a whole lot of bowl action. We had Week 17 in the NFL. The Grizzlies played a couple of games. The game last night missing a handful of players, a lot of players actually, with injuries in a big game against the OKC Thunder, a game which they lost. We'll talk a lot of Grizzlies. Later this afternoon, Michael Cole will join us at 5 o'clock to talk Grizzlies. We've got a bowl game going on right now. Iowa up with about 30 seconds left in the first half, 21-14 over Missouri. So talk a lot of bowls. We got to make a lot of bowl picks today. This will be our final show of 2025. We'll be out tomorrow, and then on Wednesday, the first of the year. We'll be back on Thursday, shortened show on Thursday because of Ole Miss football, their bowl game against Duke in the Gator Bowl. So we'll talk a lot of bowl games today. We'll have to make some picks as well later on in this hour. Darian, how are you this afternoon?
Man, I am awesome. Excited about tonight. Excited about the football yesterday. It's time. College football playoffs coming up. What a time to be alive.
Quarterfinals, just a couple days. Actually, we'll actually have one quarterfinal game tomorrow night.
Yes, sir.
And then really everything on the 1st of January. So that will be a lot of fun. Landon, how are you this afternoon?
I am doing very well. How are you, Bryant?
I am fantastic. Do y'all do much on New Year's Eve? Do y'all go out and party? Really? You're a big New Year's Eve person.
That's what you said. You said you have never gone downtown and partaken in any of it.
I never have either.
I've partied on New Year's Eve,
man.
but I've never gone downtown.
Well, with me, guys, it's more of a family deal. It's like the cousins, and we, for whatever reason, Christmas is kind of falling off as the family get together. Now New Year's is kind of the deal. So we'll all partake in a little bit of downtown Memphis this year. Last year we did downtown Dallas. So downtown Dallas, Texas was pretty good last year. So not necessarily like a solo or, just I and the wife type of deal. It's more of cousins, friends, just instead of being in the house, and we have alternatives because there's cousins that don't like going out. So if we wanted to stay in, we could, but we kind of like going out and being festive, Not necessarily with the, over the board drinking or whatnot, but just being festive. The countdown, the kiss the person that you're with right after midnight, that type of deal, the old school stuff. So,
have you ever done Nashville on New Year's Eve? That's gotten so big where it's like on television now, and I'm not a huge country music fan, so I'll see it on and I'll kind of like see who's performing, but I don't really stick with it very much.
Strangely enough, I love CNN's New Year's deal.
They do a good. They do a good New Year's.
What's my guy's name? Cooper and the other guy. I forget. Hold on, I'll find out. But
I kind of bounce around on New Year's Eve, so I don't really ever stick to one of them. Which one's the Rockin' New Year's Eve? That's like CBS.
That's Seacrest now, I believe.
Yeah.
Dick
Clark's Rockin' New Year's Eve. That's right. It still is, I think. Dick
Andy Cohen and Cooper Anderson. Those guys are hilarious. Yeah. So if you are going to stay in and, you're of the ilk where you just want to be entertained, they actually let those guys get drunk.
Yeah,
Andy Cohen, which is a comedian, he does a little bit of political stuff here and there, but for the most part, he's a comedian. I think I see him a lot on E! and Comedy Channel. But he and Anderson Cooper get together, and they have the stars out. But when they get loaded, they are fun. Like, of course, it's censored cable. They don't let them go all the way out. Yeah. But I mean, from the weird moments and jokes that Cohen can lay on Cooper. It's like,
funny.
It's kind of like the wild one and the subdued one, and you kind of blend them together with alcohol, and you got me and Brett and Bryant.
Yeah, I guess so. No, New Year's Eve.
Throw a little Landon in there. That's what you got, baby.
It'd be a wild
I don't know what
night.
side I'd be leaning on.
I don't know. But no, New Year's Eve, always fun, and it'll be fun tomorrow with the bowl games we have, and then the first quarterfinal game tomorrow night, leading us into Wednesday, which will be a very, very busy day. I want to talk NFL kind of in this first segment. We're going to talk a ton of Tigers and their win over Ole Miss in the next segment, so I want to keep that more for the next segment, and obviously we'll talk a lot of bowls and everything kind of going on. But NFL, a good weekend of the NFL, some really interesting results, and it really builds to Monday Night Football tonight, which we'll talk a ton about at 5:30 when we get to our Monday Night Football pick and preview. But Darian, your 49ers?
Yes, I was waiting on you.
In the week
I was waiting on
tonight.
you. The NFC North has apparently forgotten there's a football game tonight because I've seen tons of promotion about the battle for the NFC North next week, and
Minnesota
we'll get into
Lions.
that in a little bit after you set up the show. But people, there's a game tonight, and hey, it has me energized. I hadn't been energized about my team in about 3 or 4 weeks until I kind of put the notion together that they're overlooking us. Like how
they absolutely are.
Yeah, I've seen social media and all kind of the brawl for it all next week. Like, hold on, people, you got to come to Levi. Like, hold on.
We'll see what
Hold
happens
on
tonight.
just a moment.
That's gonna be a good game tonight, but
Hopefully, we do suck. I mean, I'm not going to say that, but
that's true.
At least you're not the Titans.
of
That's
course,
true.
could be the Cowboys too.
I mean, at least you're excited
y'all
about
are winning now. Like, what's
They
up
didn't
with
win
that?
yesterday. They got beat down yesterday.
Yeah, y'all got destroyed by Kenny Pickett.
Hey, look. all
Uh-oh.
right.
Here we go.
Look.
Just go ahead and unlock
I
it. Do it now. Get it
I
out.
know.
Go ahead and get it
Let
out.
it all
This is
out.
all
This
I'm
is a safe
gonna say.
space.
Thank you.
is all I'm gonna say.
Before the new year.
Look, I know Kenny Pickett had the little meme going around of him throwing the ball down into the ground
was
and kind of
hilarious.
like falling when nobody touched him. He went bad. Like the last 2 weeks
He
we've been
played
watching,
really good.
Kenny Dillingham, or not Kenny Dillingham, that's a coach. Kenny Pickett hadn't been bad. I haven't hated what I've seen. And but I mean, who cares? Kenny Pickett, they could have stuck me out there for the quarterback of the Eagles yesterday, and they still would have won 41-7 because of what Saquon Barkley did. I mean, 167 yards on the ground. I know he did not score a rushing touchdown, but he set them up to where they were in good field position to score touchdowns. Kenny Pickett got injured in that game, had to leave, so they had a backup quarterback that threw two
Eagles got a big
touchdowns in there.
decision next week too. Do you or do you
that's
not?
the question.
Do you or do you not play Saquon? And I say no.
Really?
I say no. I come from the old school. Eric Dickerson did this in 14 games, I believe. Right now, you are at 16. You're disqualified. I'm pretty sure it goes in the same vein of the folk that automatically disqualify Barry Bonds with the home runs. I guess I'm getting older. Like, no. Even if you get it tomorrow, that does not count in my book because not only did you get it in a 17-game season, you got it when he got it in 14. So that's 3 less games. No, it's Eric Dickerson's.
Here's the thing. I think he's going to play.
I think so, too.
And here's why. Maybe against any other team, he doesn't play.
Yeah.
This
Oh, yeah.
is the
Oh, yeah.
Giants.
Go ahead.
He's playing the Giants. This is the team that we know now, thanks to HBO in their off-season Hard Knocks edition following
Did
the
not want
Giants,
him. Yeah.
that Joe Shane was very aware. I can make a decision. I can either bring him back and maybe not, sign this guy or not sign that guy, or I can let him go. And what he ended up doing, it was actually like a whole episode just dedicated to Saquon Barkley in the offseason, where he gets on the phone with his agent, with Saquon's agent, says, look, we want to let him go out there, get what his value is, because they thought, and they were having conversations in-house of, Saquon's not going to get that much money. I mean, he's going to get money. He's going to get good money. But he is not going to go and break the bank and get a massive deal, because that's kind of how, we've been talking about for years where running backs are not getting, those big-time deals. And he said, we'll let him walk. We'll let him see what's out there. But then we want to have the last say. We want to be able to, whatever you get from a team, we want to be able to come back and try to match that or do better than that or whatever. And ultimately, Saquon, and he's even had interviews about this later on into the offseason before the season started, where he felt a little disrespected and kind of hurt that the Giants let him walk like that, and that once he started talking with Philly, and obviously his past playing at Penn State, kind of growing up in that area, that they wanted him and that they were going to give him a pretty good contract, he didn't even want to give the Giants.
It was pride. It was 100% pride.
And so I think, without a doubt, he's going to play against the Giants, and he's probably going to have 100 rushing yards before halftime, and he's going to be able to sit the second half. Because that's what I've heard. I understand your thing, and here's the thing about that. Whether he breaks it or not, Saquon Barkley, there are going to be people that say he is the record holder, he's done it, and there are going to be people that say he did it in 16 games, he did it way longer. That's a conversation we have about a lot of things. But I think he's going to go. I think he's going to get it.
I think another reason, yes, it's the Giants, but it goes into the team aspect too. It's the Giants. It's the NFC East for that city. The city, they've won a Super Bowl, in modern day, so to speak, but Philly's prideful. That's a team award. That's for the coach. That's for the Lane Johnsons, the offensive lines. That's for the fullbacks.
Yeah.
That's for the wide receivers blocking down the field. So not only is it personal, because I think the Giants and Saquon is a personal thing, but I think the city wants it. Because just kind of kin it to, let's say Ja has the ball in the last 30 seconds and he has 58 points. What are we hollering in the stands? Go for 60. So I think from a team standpoint and a city standpoint, they want it. Yeah. Are they at home? That's the question. Are they in Meadowlands or are they in Philly?
Man, that would be even better if the Eagles were on the road. No, the Eagles are at home.
They are at home. So I think there's a better chance of him doing it at home. Away, you kind of play we got to salvage him because we're locked into the two, but you go for it at home.
Yeah, well, and that's the, I think John made that argument earlier today of, I think, that coaching staff, maybe one John, somebody, he at least brought it up as maybe a counterpoint or his point or whatever it was of, there are going to be people that say he shouldn't play because you're playing the Giants. The Giants aren't playing for anything. You're not playing.
And guess who you get next week? The loser of Minnesota and the Lions next week, because they're locked in the two, so they get the 5 next week.
That's right. So you
got a big boy coming to you.
Save Saquon, give him a week off, let him rest before you really need him in the playoffs. But I think Saquon's gonna. If someone did say that, I think Saquon would go to them and say, no. You don't understand this. I'm playing.
Hell of a season by him too, because you could see it coming, but everyone, it had to go the right way. Things had to fall the right, and they did. So kudos to the Eagles, man.
Yeah, no, they've impressed me. I think, before the season when we made our picks, I think a lot of people were down on them because of how last season ended. If you remember, lost, what was it, their last
they just stumbled and crumbled towards the finish line last year.
It didn't feel like anybody liked Sirianni. It didn't seem like Sirianni liked anybody on his team. And I was like, how is this going to, after this, sits for a whole offseason, how are these guys going to come out? And they played really well this year and have really surprised me. So definitely.
You're right. I forgot about that crumble. Them in Jacksonville, because Jacksonville started off hot and they lost their last 8 or 9 toward the end.
And now Jacksonville this year is
bad.
They're bad. But they won. They beat the Titans over the weekend. So I guess good for them at home.
Was it Mac Jones?
It was Mac Jones at quarterback. That's right. Some of the other things from yesterday: the Commanders clinched their first playoff berth since 2020. When
fighting Josh Smith,
man. Night. Yeah, what a wild game that was last night. 30-24 win in overtime over the Falcons. I don't know if y'all were watching the game.
Yes.
But Riley Patterson had an opportunity. What was it, like a 56-yarder?
Yeah, and we thought it was going in because it's on my station at the other place I work at, Channel 5, and we don't go on until the game goes off. So we're all glued to it. And
y'all want it to end. Yeah. Y'all don't want overtime.
Oh, of course. So you got Matt Infield there, and he's typing away, and, he can't quite finish what he's doing until it's done, so on and so forth. So we hang by those last-minute Sunday night games pretty well. So the ball goes up, he kicks it, and I'm like, that's good, that's good. And I hear a, hell no, and, it falls. It looks like it was, maybe 3 or 4 yards short.
Yeah, it was probably.
It looked good going initially, but
Well, and that's saying where the camera was.
It looked good.
Drilled
it looked like he drilled.
Riley Patterson, former Memphis kicker. So I really wanted him to make that because this is a guy that started his career, real nice, and now hadn't really been able to find somewhere to stick. He gets added to Atlanta because their starting kicker's injured, and would have been a good
Cool, right? Young Way Cool.
Yeah, that's right. And so I was kind of hoping that this would be a good opportunity for him. Obviously, they've got their kicker. They've got a great kicker. But maybe
cost me some scratch too.
Yeah, I mean,
my futures.
Drill a couple.
My futures.
I forgot about that. But
I think they can still get in next week if Tampa Bay loses because they have the tiebreaker.
That's true.
So right now, I think Tampa Bay is in the one slot, and the same goes next week. Tampa, I guess, now win and they're in, and Falcons got to get Tampa Bay to lose.
Yeah, but Jaden Daniels has been great. He was great last night, 227.
Rookie of the year for you?
Yeah, I think so.
Easy.
Except Brock Bowers, I mean, I think you can
Dude,
make
I didn't know the
argument.
stats that,
He's been incredible. Now, his team's been terrible.
Yeah, but the Dicker record from the rookie tight end, Puka Nakuas, I didn't even realize it. I mean, the guy's a tight end. He broke a wide receiver's receptions record.
Yeah. So, I mean, he's been really good. Jaden Daniels, but I think it's going to go to Jaden Daniels, just what he has done and where he's gotten this team.
Deserving.
Very. But last night, I mean, a fun game between two rookie quarterbacks in Jaden Daniels and Michael Penix Jr., who kind of had an up and down game. Had that drive at the end of the game to tie it that ended up sending it to overtime. A fun game Sunday night. And then the last thing, because we had the Raiders that we mentioned, they won yesterday, and then the Giants won. Now it looks like New England, the Patriots, are the odds-on favorite to get the number one pick, I guess, or probability favorite to get that number one pick.
And with that said, I think I lied to you now.
Okay.
Last week, I think I told you I was done betting. I got a good feeling that New England likes Drake May.
Yeah.
And they're going to take Travis Hunter with the number one. So it was plus 410 yesterday, gentlemen, and I jumped on it.
So here's the question,
I jumped on it.
because you kind of beat me to it. My question now is, if they get the number one pick, do they take Travis Hunter, or do they now?
Easy answer.
Now is your bet that New England drafts Travis Hunter, or is your bet that he's the number one pick?
Well, it says number one pick. So it's predicated on I'm hoping that the Patriots keep it.
Yeah.
So that's what it's all predicated.
Because I was going to say I could see
it's a $10 bet.
I could see, because my question was, do they draft him with number one, or do they trade down? Because I think there's still a scenario where they could trade down to 3, maybe get some assets, still draft him, because you look at the Raiders, both the Raiders and the Giants are in need of a quarterback, and you've got two pretty good
It's 100% predicated on him going number one to the Patriots.
Okay.
No, not necessarily to the Patriots, but number one.
Just number
but
one.
I think he goes number one if the Patriots have it.
I
think they like Drake May, and I don't think especially as more people talk, I don't think Shador or Cam is just kind of knocking people off their socks. Or
Yeah, I mean, I can see one of those other teams taking one of those quarterbacks, but when you're New England,
I think it's an easy answer if you're New England. I think you take him and put him at corner and go for it.
Yeah, I think so. So that's I like that bet. I don't hate that.
Plus
at all.
14,
Why not?
You're winning $60 or something.
Yeah, why not? Well, let me set up today's show before we get to top and not top story of the day. 3:30, we're going to talk a ton about Memphis and their win over Ole Miss Saturday afternoon. A really, really great wire-to-wire victory over the Rebels to end their non-conference slate. Now they get ready Thursday night. They'll start conference play on the road against FAU. 3:45, we'll make bowl picks through Thursday afternoon's games. Like I mentioned, we'll be off tomorrow and Wednesday for New Year's, but we'll be back on Thursday, so we've got to make picks for, I guess, no games tonight. We've got one game going on right now, but tomorrow we've got games all day. Wednesday we've got games all day, and then I believe Thursday, Ole Miss is the only bowl game, but we'll have to make picks for that. We'll do that on Thursday. We'll do the rest of them later this hour. 4 o'clock, David Cohn, the co-host of Crane & Company, usually joins us on Wednesday, but nice enough to join us Monday afternoons these last 2 weeks since we haven't been here on Wednesdays. We'll talk a ton about the college football playoff quarterfinals. James Franklin said that he thinks college football needs a commissioner, and he thinks Nick Saban is the right call. We'll get David Cohn's thoughts on that. We mentioned Cam Ward, obviously one of the top quarterbacks in this. He played the first half of his bowl game, which was a great bowl game, Miami versus Iowa State. Played the first half, broke a record, and then opted out at halftime is what a lot of people are calling it. He sat the rest of the game. Miami ends up losing that game. We'll get David's thoughts on that. 4:30, we'll get to our Sissy's Log Cabin, look back at the weekend in the SEC. A lot of bowl games for the SEC that we got to get to, and we'll also preview some of the bowl games coming up later this week. 4:45, we'll get to big number of the day. 5 o'clock, DeMichael Cole, the Grizzlies beat writer over at the Commercial Appeal. He'll join us to talk Grizzlies. We've unfortunately got to talk injuries with him, as last night's game was plagued with guys missing the game. We got kind of all of those updates yesterday afternoon. throughout the day, and it ended up being a big win for OKC. We'll talk to him about what he's seen from this Grizzlies team, injuries, and different things. We'll do that at 5 o'clock with DeMichael Cole. 5:30, we get to our Monday Night Football pick and preview. Right now, Detroit, a 3.5-point favorite over the 49ers. We'll also have to get to our Big 4-2 list today. Big 4 players for the Lions playing right now. Lions that will be playing tonight. So that is to clarify in case you already got y'all's list done. Christian McCaffrey is not eligible for this Big 4.
Why you gotta use him?
Well, because he's injured and he is not playing tonight.
Hutchinson isn't either.
Yes, you're correct. If I was forced to list a Lion, I'd have to list a lot of them because they have a lot of injuries right now. But Big 4 for both teams currently playing. Guys that will be playing tonight. That will be our Big 4 this afternoon. And then at 5:45, we'll wrap up today's show like we always do with Crunch Time. Let me remind you, we're in our Family Leisure studios where family and fun come together. Get over to Family Leisure for the floor model sale. All 2024 inventory, it's gotta go. Help them make room for 2025. All floor models up to 50% off. Cold plunge tubs starting at $49.99 and hot tubs up to $3,000 off with free steps and chemicals. Pool tables, arcades, ping pong tables, air hockey, foosball tables, all 20 to 60% off. And don't forget about that theater seating, up to 75% off. It's not too early to start thinking about pool season. Buy now and get on the schedule for install before that pre-summer rush. So get over there, Family Leisure, 2120 Winton Road, just north of I-40. You can be a part of the show by hitting up the Sissy's Log Cabin listener line, 901-360-8255. Let us know what you thought of the Tigers' performance on Saturday, their win over Ole Miss. And what do you think the Tigers' record will be at the end of conference play? They get started with conference play on Thursday against FAU. And as always, this first hour brought to you each and every afternoon by Lexus of Memphis. Still some time to get over to Lexus of Memphis before the new year. I guess only 2 days, but perfect time. Go out there, check out those new 2025 vehicles that you can drive off the lot. Beautiful vehicles over there at Lexus of Memphis, and we appreciate them being a part of the show each and every afternoon. Let's go ahead and get to top story of the day.
Top story of the day.
Well, my top story of the day, it's got to be Tiger basketball and that win we saw Saturday afternoon against Ole Miss. A game that from the jump, the Tigers came out, got an early lead, and never looked back. 87-70 was the final score over Ole Miss, and it was a game where Musa Cisse had his revenge game. The former Tiger that started his career with Memphis, then transferred to Oklahoma State, then to Ole Miss, and now back to Memphis. He had revenge against his former coach and former teammates. They were talking about it. Only 2 guys in that starting lineup for Ole Miss that he played with the year before. All the rest of the guys are newcomers. So it wasn't like he was playing his entire team that he was playing with last year. But that coach, that coaching staff, he played against them. And Chris Beard, high praise after the game for Musa Cisse. He said, when I got the job at Ole Miss, that's a guy that immediately we said we want a guy like this. This would be a good guy to kind of start our recruiting with, and they were glad to get him, and he's glad to see Musa thriving at Memphis. But Musa Cisse finished the day playing 20 minutes, 13 points, 11 rebounds, 3 blocks, 1 steal, and I think the biggest thing, only 2 fouls.
Yay, Musa.
When we've been talking about what he's done some of these previous games, that's kind of been plagued with the foul trouble, but he goes out there, has a great game, and doesn't foul. You had other guys that looked really good, including Colby Rogers, who I think a lot of people were getting worried about because of how he had played a couple games before. Started the season really nice, making shots, and then he kind of went on a 2-3 game stretch where he was really struggling finding the bottom of that basket, but not on Saturday. 28 points, 4 rebounds. He did foul out late in the game. He had a blocked shot, but get this, 6 for 9 from 3. He was lighting it up early and often, and the Tigers really needed that. PJ Haggerty, 17 points. Tyrese Hunter, only 4 points, but you didn't really need him when you had all the production from everybody else. And then you look on the bench, Dane Danger was awesome off the bench. 16 points, 3 rebounds, 2 blocks for for the big man. And I mean, when you have both those guys playing that way, the big men, Musa Cisse and Dane Danger, I think it's going to be very hard for the Tigers to be beaten by really anybody in the country. Dante Harris, the newest addition, we talked about him Friday afternoon. Literally, we talked to Jason Munz. I know you weren't here, Dan. Talked to Jason Munz. We get done with him. 15 minutes later, he publishes the story of breaking news. Dante Harris is joining the team. I didn't know what to expect. I know Penny Hardaway is not scared to throw anybody out there, even if they've only been with the team a couple of days. But Dante Harris, he did see 7 minutes of action. Now, a couple of those minutes, I think 2 or 3 of those minutes were at the very end of the game when Tigers had the game easily won. But you saw him get in there, 5 minutes or so, kind of middle of the game. I thought he looked good. Obviously very new, didn't try to do too much. I think that's what you want to see. But Penny Hardaway has talked about, having that Virginia background. That obviously,
there you go.
If you're going to play in that system, you've got to be locked in on the defensive end of the court. And he really likes what Dante Harris can bring, kind of be a depth piece when you need to give some of these guards breaks. And I think you'll see him really shine in conference play.
Oh yeah, and just to quote the great Terry Davis on with you and John Harden earlier, talking about the Virginia transfer. If you don't play defense for Virginia, you don't get on the floor. So my top story today is we all saw history yesterday. It was been 51 years in the making. 1973, the first time we had a 2,000-yard rusher. Yesterday, Saquon became the 9th. Hear these names: O.J. Simpson, Eric Dickerson, Barry Sanders, Terrell Davis, Jamal Lewis, C.J. 2K, our very own Chris Johnson, Adrian Peterson, Derrick Henry, and now Saquon Barkley. MVP caliber season, MVP worthy. He deserves everything he's getting to him, but high note for himself, for his career, I think for the Eagles, and I think it may be the beginning of a beautiful relationship, as they say.
Yeah, I think so too.
Not top story of the day.
Well, my not top story of the day, it's got to be the college football playoff quarterfinals. They get kicked off tomorrow night. Only one game, but it gets us started. Penn State and Boise State. And we have the first 2 games of the quarterfinals, both really big lines, really big point spreads. But then those last 2, kind of the exact opposite, really narrow. And I think these games might play out that way. I'm really interested to see this Penn State-Boise State game, because on one side you have a great running back in Ashton Jeanty. We know 2nd in Heisman voting. We know how close he is to breaking college rushing records. We know what he did as a whole.
We know what he's been saying all off season.
Yeah, so I mean,
been talking.
Yeah, so I think a good opportunity for him, and I think we were talking about this last week. Really, his first prime time, all eyes on him opportunity this season to really show out. But you're going against a Penn State defense that we know, kind of like Virginia defense, it's built on toughness and grittiness and really slowing down, especially the run. And so curious to see what he can do rushing against that Penn State defense. You go to Wednesday all day. We've got back-to-back big-time quarterfinal games. Texas and Arizona State, I mean, I don't know right now. We'll make our picks later. Right now, kind of leaning Texas. I love Scattaboo, but man, this Texas team, it feels like at some point, they are really going to beat up on somebody. That felt, they won by a good margin in the first round of the college football playoffs, but I think, you hear everybody say that was the closest of the first round games. This could be an opportunity for them on this neutral site in Atlanta to really put an end to Arizona State's season and maybe put some fear, because as good as Texas is, 12-2 on the season, I don't think anybody's talking about fearing this Texas team. I think they'll want to change that. Ohio State, Oregon. Right now, Ohio State, a 2.5-point favorite in the Rose Bowl. Neutral field is going to be everything. And then the final game, Notre Dame, Georgia. Right now, Georgia, that line moving all over the place. Georgia, a 1-point favorite. I think you bring up a good point very quickly. I was reading a story today in The Athletic talking about how quarterfinal games need to be on home campus stadiums, and that they need to change that because you had the first round. It was a lot of fun seeing those campus games. And one of the biggest points that this story kind of brought to the table that I didn't even think about, but I liked it. It said, you look at Oregon, a team that's the number one team in the country. They're the number one seed, and what are they rewarded with? They're rewarded with having to play a great Ohio State team where they're right now underdogs in that game. And if you're an Oregon fan, you're having to pay all this money. I mean, let's say they go to the national championship. You're paying tickets for the Rose Bowl. You're paying tickets for semifinal game. You're paying tickets for the championship game. That it would be nice to reward these teams that get the first round buys, especially if we change it from the conference championship getting that top 4 to just the top 4 seeds. Rewarding those teams that get that first bye playing at home, it would reward that team. It would also reward that fan base getting a campus game. And
how do you do it with the title sponsors? That's the problem.
Now that's the thing,
because you could have the Sugar Bowl here in the Liberty Bowl, but the Liberty Bowl, the Sugar Bowl is not going to want. Yeah,
exactly. And that's the biggest question is when you have these big bowl games. I mean, especially the magnitude of these bowl games. These aren't, the I don't want to
Pop-Tart Bowl. Just go there.
I love the Pop-Tart.
Yeah.
But this isn't the Pop-Tart Bowl.
It's the Sports Bowl.
This isn't the Sports Bowl up in Detroit that we're looking up. What is the game above Sports Bowl? What even is that? This is the Peach Bowl, the Rose Bowl, the All-State Sugar Bowl, and the Fiesta Bowl, the biggest of bowls. Yeah. They're not just going to say, hey, guys, that was fun. See you later.
And quickly, I don't feel bad for Oregon because they, in this situation, because they are used to playing in the Rose Bowl, being former Pac-12ers. So, anywho, my not top story quickly is the 24-point loss the Grizzlies suffered last night to the number 1 seeded Oklahoma City Thunder. Only one person in 20-point range, and that was Desmond Bane, who kind of was on and off yesterday. You saw him trying to do a little much yesterday. Jaren Jackson only 13 points. Scottie Pippen Jr., who plays so well when Ja is not, in the lineup, 10 points, 6 assists. So kind of game. Luke Kennard showed up 16 points, but to look like that in that situation when we've looked so well without Ja at home, defense has to travel. That's the big thing with this team, and defense did not travel yesterday. So my not top story is the 24-point loss, man, we suffered on yesterday.
Yeah, we got to talk to
Got to be better without
that.
Ja, man. And then I was telling Landon, I got a hot take, man. He can't be hurt this much, man.
I like the hot
take. He can't be hurt this much and not think about the trade deal. And I brought up Steph Curry. Steph Curry with the ankles, the shins, all of that in the earlier part of his career. If you tell me Ja's going to win championships and MVPs and all of that, not necessarily be Steph later on, but have the longevity, be on the court later on, I'll shut up. But if he's going to be injury riddled, you sell high, man.
Whoa. Okay. We
It's
might
hot.
have to come back to this later in the show, but we got to get to a break. And when we come back, we'll talk a lot about the Tigers.
Don't tweet me,
Ja.
Ja.
Over Ole Miss. That's next on Sports Time.
Westwood 1. Week 17 of Monday Night Football will come from Santa Clara, with the 49ers hosting the Detroit Lions. Jared Goff and the Lions set a franchise record for wins last week. Now they're focused on securing their second straight division title and the top seed in the NFC playoffs. Don't miss any of the action on Monday Night Football.
Right here on Sports 56.
I've got huge news for you. The countdown is on. Monday Night Raw is coming to Netflix. Starting January 6th, WWE Monday Night Raw will be live every week on Netflix. Live drama, live heroes, live action. The premiere episode on Netflix will feature some of the biggest names in WWE, such as John Cena, undisputed WWE Champion, the American Nightmare Cody Rhodes, Roman Reigns, CM Punk, and Bianca Belair. There's never been a better time to step into the ring and stream WWE Raw. WWE Monday Night Raw premieres Monday, January 6th at 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Eastern, live only on Netflix.
Mom, here's Sarah.
From first-time Nana moments. Welcome to Flight 101. To annual Girls Trip moments. Your can't-miss moments are worth protecting against RSV. If you're 75 or older or 60 plus with a chronic condition like asthma, COPD, heart disease, or diabetes, you're at higher risk of being hospitalized from RSV. And there are no prescription RSV treatments. Check eligibility and schedule your RSV vaccine at vaxassist.com. Sponsored by Pfizer.
Welcome to Triumph Auto Sales, where you'll have a great car buying experience. Triumph Auto Sales is your #1 source of quality pre-owned vehicles ranging from lease returns to new car trades, all at huge savings. Plus, Triumph has a full array of financing options to meet your needs. Find your next car online at triumphautosales.com or stop in today at 4875 Elmore Road. Triumph Auto Sales will help you get the vehicle you want at the price you need and the service you deserve. For a great car and a great experience from a local and family-owned business, visit Triumph Auto Sales.
Now, back to Sports Time. Sports 56. This hour is brought to you by Lexus Comics. Here are your hosts, Let's Talk Sports with Brian Davis.
Welcome back into Sports Time. Brian and Darian with you this afternoon. No Brett. He'll be back on Monday, just taking some time off around the holidays. We got to talk Tigers and their win over Ole Miss. A really, really promising win over a good Ole Miss team. Look, I know, I think you play a lot of non-conference teams and you immediately go, yeah, that's a good team. They're going to be good. They're going to be, that's a good win, right? And I think you can say that with Ole Miss. They're a good team. But because of what the SEC is this year, I don't want to guarantee anything. I mean, we could look up I'm just curious. What is Ole Miss's schedule kind of as they start conference play? Really good team right now, but I wouldn't be surprised if in 3 weeks, a month, we look up
Ole Miss back in the things.
Ole Miss is struggling.
Yeah.
They go
they're struggling. Okay.
Georgia, Arkansas, LSU, Alabama, Mississippi State. That's their next 5 games. Georgia's winnable. Arkansas on the road.
Yeah.
Toss up.
Yeah.
LSU, very winnable game. Alabama, you probably lose that game. Alabama's very good this year. Mississippi State on the road, you probably lose that game. So we're talking, and I'm just looking at KenPom right here. I know I just went through them, but KenPom, just looking at the next 5 games, KenPom projects in the next 5 games, Ole Miss to go 2-3.
2-3. Okay.
So,
part of the reason Lenardi has 13 teams in the NCAA bracket deal.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah,
It's tough. It's going to be tough.
That's any team. And that's not me knocking Ole Miss. I think Ole Miss is a really good team. Chris Beard is an unbelievable coach. But that's just how tough this league is. And so, I think this is a really good win. I don't want anybody to look up after the next 5 games and go, oh, well, look what Ole Miss is doing now. Since losing to the Tigers, including the Tigers, they're 2-4. In their last 6 games. I don't want anybody to do that because, the SEC is going to be tough for every single team in it. But I do want to talk about this win for the Tigers and just what they did. I thought Jason...
Were you there?
I was
Did
not
you go?
there.
Okay.
No, I was actually here working the Ole Miss broadcast of the game.
Ah.
So I got to hear the
the
game
hotty-totty
from,
side of things.
From the other side, if you will. But no, I think one thing going into this game that Jason Munns said with us, and I wish I was going to try to grab this audio, and I didn't end up having time. Penny Hardaway after the game later
Thank
Saturday
God for
night.
the victories. I was like, what?
After the game, later that night, Penny Hardaway joined the Field of 68. Kevin Sweeney, our friend that joins us on Wednesday afternoons, he was on Field of 68 Saturday night, and they had Penny Hardaway on to kind of talk about the win and talk about this team. And one thing he said, and one thing that Jason Munn said on Friday, is that you look at that Mississippi State team, because I asked Jason Munn, what jumped out to you about that Mississippi State loss on last Saturday? He said, they just looked tired. They looked exhausted. And he goes, you think about it, they play in that game against Clemson the Saturday before, where it was an early game, and then you go into overtime, and then you come back and you end up going to Virginia, and it's a game where you really had to claw and fight in that second half to win that game. You come back late that night, and then now you got to turn around on Saturday and play Mississippi State. He goes, you just look tired. And Penny Hardaway was talking about it. And I don't remember exactly what happened or what it was, but he said something like, so that Virginia game was Wednesday night. He said they play Wednesday night, they fly back, they get home real late, everyone's exhausted. The next morning, they have an NIL event to go to. So they all have to be up at like 11 or be somewhere at 11. So you're up at 9 o'clock, whatever. They go to that. Later that night, they had another kind of event or something that they had to do. Then Friday morning, because they had an early game on Saturday, they did walkthroughs at like 9, 10 a.m. in the morning. And he's like, so these guys are exhausted. They're doing one thing after the other. And they looked exhausted in that game Saturday against Mississippi State. Now you had the whole week off. Another thing is, I'm sure, and I don't know this, every program is different, but usually, especially when you have that week off, you get a couple days to go home and see your family and do kind of Christmas with your family, whether it's 2-3 days is what it usually is. I don't know if the Tigers did that. I'm assuming they did. There's something to having that in the back of your mind of, hey, once this game's over, especially an 11 a.m. game against Mississippi State, there are probably guys, if they were able to go home, had flights later that night to go back home and see family. So in the back of their mind, there is something to that. Absolutely. Man, I get to go home and see mom and dad and get to see my brother and my cousin and my boys and whatever. There's something to that.
Absolutely.
And that's every team in the country. You can make that argument for anybody. But there was I think that team just did not look locked in that game against Mississippi State. Now you get the week off, you come back, and they looked dialed in from the opening tip.
Just like Penny said they wouldn't. On the opposite end, while you were doing it, and just strictly sticking on the Mississippi State game. So here is their road. Here is their road to the FedEx Forum. They play on a Sunday, December 8th, at home, Prairie View. Then all the way to December 14th, that's a Saturday, McNeese State. Then on a Tuesday, at home, Central Michigan, and then the big game against the Tigers right up the road. So the travel legs that the Tigers had, the Bullies did not.
No. And I, same thing you can say about Ole Miss. Maybe not as much of kind of the turnaround stuff like that. But I heard somebody make this same argument on Saturday when talking about this game. Of you look at the schedule that Penny Hardaway has set up for his team. His guys are ready for any competition. And we talked about it on Friday, Landon, if you remember, I kind of said, and Tiger Bankroll, I didn't do the math of where everybody
Nope,
stands.
I did. I'm horrible. You are up $5 on break.
Okay, perfect.
And I'm in last place.
I know I got the win.
And Connor got his money. I
picked the Tigers. You and Brett picked Ole Miss. I picked the Tigers, but on Friday, when I was kind of saying, this doesn't feel like a good game for the Tigers. You look at turnover and what Ole Miss does and forcing turnovers and not turning the ball over. This doesn't seem like a good matchup. They've got three-point shooters. Tigers' defense has not been really playing well against the three. This doesn't feel like a good game. But the thing is I think Memphis is prepared for anybody because you look at who Memphis has played and you look at who a team like Ole Miss has played. They have played, and Mike DeCourcy was on with Dave earlier today, and he said, the Tigers have only played one opponent this non-conference slate that was rated lower than 102
San Francisco.
on KenPom. It was La Tech, I believe.
Okay.
I think it was La Tech. Maybe it was Ohio. It was one of those two games.
Yeah.
You look at any other team in the country, really. I know Gonzaga usually makes their schedule really tough, kind of like the Tigers, and DeCourcy was kind of comparing those two today. But you look at Ole Miss and what they've played the last handful of games. Lindenwood, 339. Southern Miss, 286. Southern, 242. Queens, 262. And then Tigers, who are 36. Memphis, the games leading up, 96 Arkansas State, 30 Clemson, 101 Virginia, 21 Mississippi State, and now 34 Ole Miss.
Isn't it the Alabama football team scheduling Alcorn State at the beginning of the year?
Kind of.
It sounds like that's what it is because they knew that the gauntlet they'll have to go through, right? And vice versa for Penny.
Yes.
He knows it possibly should not have to be a gauntlet, so he has to have the gauntlet somewhere.
But that's the thing is, again, that is not a knock on Ole Miss in their schedule or anything. They get the benefit of that because they're going to play the toughest conference in America in the SEC. But and going back to what Mike DeCourcy was saying earlier today, he kind of laid it out the exact same way where he said Gonzaga playing in the West Coast Conference, they're playing a lot of soft games in conference. They build their non-conference schedule up so that when they get to conference play, it's like, okay, they'll lose 3 or 4 games. We know that. But look at what they did in non-conference. They're definitely in the tournament. Memphis kind of doing that same thing where, they can now go and lose a couple games in conference play.
Gonzaga had a
You
good
feel
one
really
last night. Last night against UCLA.
That's right. That was fun.
Well, it's Saturday. Saturday. I knew I saw it at some point.
UCLA, really good team. Looking at Ole Miss in this game and kind of what the Tigers did, we mentioned it. Ole Miss only turning the ball over about 8 times a game. One of the best teams in the country in terms of offensive turnover percentage. Tigers were able to force them into 11 turnovers. So 11 turnovers for Ole Miss. Thought that was pretty good. And the Tigers, we talk about how much they've been turning the ball over. Only 13 turnovers in that game. And you talk about, again, going up against a team that finds a ton of success forcing turnovers. And Ole Miss, we talked about it on Friday, they are, I think going into the weekend, they were number 1 in the country in offensive turnover percentage, which means they do not turn the ball over. And they were like number 6 in defensive turnover percentage, meaning they turn other teams over a ton. Tigers, who have turned the ball over a lot this year, did not have that issue on Saturday, only 13 turnovers. And you look at how they shot the ball. 47% from the field, 37% from 3, 71% from the free throw line. And you look in that second half, nearly 60% from the field.
Second half
they
team.
shot 57%
second half team
from the field in that second half. So I thought, all in all, a great game to kind of get you ready for conference play.
Yeah.
And look, I don't want to go out there and say they better go undefeated in conference
They
play.
better. I will.
Really?
They better.
Conference play is tough. I mean, I don't care who.
What
you're
about the
playing.
gauntlet?
That
See, that doesn't it kind of spit in the face of what we just talked about? We built up the conference, the non-con for this. Like it should not be that hard.
But
it should not be that hard.
But I agree. But conference play is different, man.
Yeah.
It's different.
Yeah.
And even going back to Gonzaga, you always see, and people always overreact to it, Gonzaga's going to lose to Pepperdine or something. It always happens where they drop a game in that West Coast Conference. It's going to happen. And you look, and I never, Darian, you know me. I do not like to build up the Memphis is everybody's Super Bowl or whatever that is. But
they are, though.
You know, and I know, Memphis back in the top 25 today. I know Brett doesn't like to put a lot of credence to that. Yeah. But you know who does? Opposing teams.
Yeah.
And you know who does? Those opposing fan bases.
Yeah.
Any gym Memphis goes into the rest of the season,
absolutely,
it is going to be packed out. It's going to be giveaway night. It's going to be
very hot ticket.
It's going to be the hot ticket. It's going to be everyone wear a white out or a red out or whatever it is. People are going to be ready for those games, and so it's going to be tough environments. I think the Tigers are going to be fine in conference play. I don't really have any worries about them. So we'll see. But that starts on Thursday against Florida.
Quickly, what were your thoughts of Kobe Rogers? You knew he would have a good game when he started comparing himself to Steph Curry. He was like, Steph Curry has bad games, man. I got to shoot myself out of it. I was like, what? And then look what he does.
I love the confidence.
Look what he does.
He's a great player. I mean, this is a veteran guy that's been to several differerent programs, and it doesn't matter what program he's at. He usually has really good seasons with them. So
can I put something quickly on your radar with him? Watch his 2-point game.
Yeah.
I think he has a DeRozan-like 2-point game.
Yeah.
I know he shoots the 3 well, but from the beginning of the season, he's been that kind of elbow extended free throw line jumper kind of guy. He makes them. He's really good in that area.
No, that's a really good point. His mid-range is
awesome. I like
really
Kobe.
Good. Shooting 43% inside the 3-point line.
John Hartnett, the country singer, Kobe Rogers.
That's right. Well, let's get to a break. When we come back, we're going to have to do it pretty quick, but we have bowl games that we have to make our picks for. We'll do that next on Sports Time.
Start your day with Sports 56 Mornings with Greg Gaston and Eli Savoy. Weekday mornings from 7 to 10, right here on Sports 56 and 98.5 FM.
Rick's Powder Coating for a beautiful finish every time. Rick's Powder Coating specializes in automotive, ornamental, residential, and industrial coating. With 2 conveyor lines at the largest match ovens in the Mid-South, Rick's can accommodate all of your powder coating needs. Locally owned and operated since 2002, Rick's Powder Coating will customize a beautiful finish just for you. Drop by or call to see how Rick's Powder Coating can bring color to your life. 901-367-2771 or rickspowdercoating.com.
KSIH is a proud supporter of the Mississippi Farm Bureau, and thanks to a membership benefits partnership, Mississippi Farm Bureau members receive a discount of up to $500 on every qualifying KSIH tractor and piece of equipment you purchase. This discount may be used with other promotions, rebates, or offers. So join Mid-South Ag Equipment and the Mississippi Farm Bureau and pocket up to $500 in savings. Call Mid-South Ag at 662-890-3141 to get your discount today.
Hi, Hi, this is Lauren Choate with Choate's Air Conditioning, Heating, and Plumbing. Burst pipes can be real headaches, especially with the increasing deep freezes. But don't worry, Choate's has solutions by winterizing your home's plumbing pipes. Our smart water monitor and shut-off system detects leaks and can automatically shut off your water to prevent even bigger leaks. We guarantee your outside faucet won't ever freeze with our Freeze Miser upgrade. And don't forget about heat tape we can install for drains and water pipes, keeping them from freezing down to negative 40 degrees. Concerned about water quality? The Halo Whole Home Water Filtration System filters out pollutants, ensuring clean showers and pure drinking water for your family. For a free estimate on safeguarding your plumbing system or filtrating your water, give Choates a call at 347-8086. And remember, Choates, let our family serve your family.
Now, back to Sports Time on Sports 56. This hour is brought to you by Lexus Service. Here are your hosts, Let's Talk Sports with Brian Davis.
Welcome back in to Sports Time. Bryant and Darian with you. We got to make some picks. Again, we're out the next couple of days for the new year. So we're going to make picks for tomorrow and Wednesday. I think we're going to wait and do Ole Miss. Yeah, we're going to wait and do Ole Miss and Duke. We'll do that on Thursday before that game starts. But let's go ahead and make these picks for this weekend. We'll start tomorrow morning, 11 a.m. on ESPN. Alabama, a 13.5-point favorite over Michigan in the ReliaQuest Bowl. Darian, who you got?
Which game was this?
Alabama, Michigan.
Alabama, Michigan. I want to go back. I have Bama.
I have Bama as well.
Bama.
Brett has Bama, and Connor is going to take Michigan.
Yep.
Before we get to these other games, let me tell you what the bowl pick records are currently.
Oh, yeah.
Connor and I are tied right now in first place, both of us 17 and 13 in bowl picks. He has Missouri in this one. We made these picks for the game that's going on right now on Friday, but Darian, you, Brett, and Connor all have Missouri in this game that's going on right now. I'm the only one that has Iowa.
Nope, I have Iowa. It says Darian.
You have Iowa?
Uh-huh.
Okay. It says Darian for both, I think. Yeah, it says I don't know. I had Iowa in this game, so
let me go back.
I don't know who had what, but I know for a fact I had Iowa in this game. But that's neither here nor there. So let's go. I should say Connor and I in first place. Darian is in second, I guess would be third place, 14 and 16, and then Brett is in last place, 12 and 18. Let's get to the next game, and that is also tomorrow afternoon, 1 o'clock on CBS. The Sun Bowl, Louisville, a 2.5-point favorite over Washington. I'm going to go Louisville in this one. I think they're the better team. I think they get the win. Darren, who you got in this one?
I have, and this is the Citrus Bowl?
This is the Sun Bowl, Louisville and
oh, that's
Washington.
a group block. I'm looking at that. That's why I'm going off of what we sent, Brett. That's a group block.
Perfect. So we all have
that's a group block.
Louisville in that one. Perfect. Let's go now to the Citrus Bowl, 2 o'clock on ABC. South Carolina, a 10.5-point favorite over Illinois. Who you got in this one?
It says you and I, Illinois.
All right. Yeah, I'm going to take Illinois as well. And then looks like Brett and Connor are both going to take
Carolina
South
training.
Carolina. Big number for South Carolina.
Yep, and these are with the spreads, people, not straight
That's
up.
right. That's correct. Tomorrow afternoon, 2:30 on ESPN, the Texas Bowl. Baylor, a 3.5-point favorite over LSU. I'm going to take LSU. Brett's going to take LSU. Connor's going to take LSU. Darren, do we have group lock?
Group it up.
Group lock on LSU. Now we get into the quarterfinal games. Tomorrow night, the Fiesta Bowl, 6:30 on ESPN. Penn State, an 11.5-point favorite over Boise State. Brett and I, we're going to go with Penn State in this one. Darren, who you got?
Yeah, man. Me and Connor are taking the points in the Fighting Genties, man.
Boise State.
I think he has a point to prove. I think he'll be the voice in the locker room saying, let's go, y'all.
Yeah, we'll see what Ashton Genty. Again, I think that's going to be a fantastic matchup tomorrow night, and we'll see how it plays out. Now jumping to Wednesday, January 1st, starting 2025 off with a bang, and it starts off at noon on ESPN. Texas, a 12.5-point favorite over Arizona State. I believe that line is moving. I think Texas now either a 13.5-point favorite over Arizona State. I am going to take Texas. Brett is going to take Texas. Connor's going to take Texas. Darian, do we have a group lock?
Nope. Fighting Scatterboos.
Wow, all right. So you're going to go with Arizona State in this one.
Shout out to Brandon Ayuk. We got you, man.
Yeah,
we got you.
That's right.
We got you, man.
The Rose Bowl, 4 o'clock on January 1st on ESPN. Ohio State, a 2.5-point favorite over Oregon. Who you got in this one?
Ohio State and Oregon. I have Ohio State.
I'm also going to take, I'm going to take Oregon in this one. I think this is a matchup where, I think they're underdogs, but I think they're the number one team. They've been the best team this season all year. We've already seen this game once. I know it's hard to beat the same team twice, but I do think Oregon can get it done. I think Brett might have skipped this one when sending us the picks, because I do not see those picks there. So we'll get that from him later. Let's go to that final game before we wrap up this hour. The Sugar Bowl, 7:45 on ESPN. Georgia, a 1.5-point favorite over Notre Dame. I'm going to take Notre Dame in this one. I think the quarterback question for Georgia really sticks out to me. I know he was really good in that second. Well, he was okay. I think everyone talks about it because they were able to come back. They were able to win the game. You look at his stats. He was okay. He was fine. He wasn't great by any means. So I think Notre Dame, I think defensively they're going to be good. I think they're going to win this game. I'll take Notre Dame. Connor will take Notre Dame. Who you got in this one?
I like a solid team.
Mm-hmm.
And from that standpoint, I'm going a solid big boy. Not a solid mid-major like a Boise or something like that. I'm going Notre Dame.
Okay.
Give me that 1.5 against Georgia.
You're going to take Notre Dame, and that means Brett is going to take Georgia. So almost a group lock there for Notre Dame, but Brett takes Georgia. Well, those are the picks through the next couple of days. We'll make picks for the bowl game on Thursday, and that is the Gator Bowl, Ole Miss and Duke. We'll do that on Thursday. And we'll also, sure, probably make that pick. For
and to correct myself, I had to go and find it what I sent to Brett. I actually had Missouri given the 3.5.
All right.
Yeah. So yeah.
I don't know what the score is. It looks like
transparency moment. I gave the 3.5
maybe
for
Missouri about to score. So
yeah.
maybe you don't.
I thought I had Iowa.
24-14 right now. 3 minutes left in the third quarter. So we'll keep you updated on what's going on here in the Music City Bowl. But let's go ahead and wrap up our first hour and get to a break. When we come back, we're going to talk some college football, and joining us, he usually joins us on Wednesdays, nice enough to stop by on a Monday afternoon. David Cohn, the co-host of Crane and Company, he joins us next.
Through the end of January, Family Leisure has got to get rid of all the 2024 inventory because all the new 2025 items are starting to arrive. All floor models are up to 50% off. You want a cold plunge tub? They start at $49.99. Go the other route with a hot tub. Get $3,000 off with free steps and chemicals. Family Leisure has pool tables, arcades, ping pong, air hockey, even football tables from 20 to 60% off. Want beers here? Leisure has theaters sold up to 75% off. Plus, now's the time to start thinking about pool seats. You can buy it now, get on the installation schedule, and be ready before everyone else. Special financing is also available. Hey, if you want to get free delivery on any of these items, you just tell the phone staff at Family Leisure that you are this commercial. It's the floor model. So now, through the end of January, Family Leisure, 100 I-40, family and fun, come together.
Join us celebrating 26 years of Napa Cafe. Hi, I'm Glenda Hastings, owner of Napa Cafe, and I'm inviting you over for dinner. Treat yourself tonight with a delightful dinner of scrumptious combinations. Fresh salads, homemade soups, or maybe start with an appetizer, like our baked Dungeness crab dip with manchego cheese, lemon, garlic, and French baguette toast. Drift into one of our fresh seafood dishes, like the caramelized sea scallops with curry beurre blanc, black forbidden rice, and Thai mango salad. Or our ancho honey glazed salmon with creamy black bean puree, avocado pico de gallo, and jalapeno crema. Maybe you're looking for something cozy and comforting, like our Duroc pork chop with apple brandy demi-glaze and blue cheese bacon mashed potatoes. We have something for everyone. Napa Cafe, open Wednesday through Saturday for dinner starting at 5 o'clock. For reservations, visit our website at napacafe.com. Come join us as we celebrate 26 years of Napa Cafe. I'd sure love to see you.
Hi, this is Troy Five-Ash, owner of Five-Ash Roofing. I have been told that my ads are all business and I should share some of my personality. Okay, I love tongue twisters, like the one about the terrific tasting toast by Taste Tester Toaster, or Big Black Bugs, Bleed Blue Blood, and of course Sally and her seashells. Or of course the ever-present I'm a mother pheasant plucker, I pluck mother pheasants. Okay, enough of that. If you want an honest, fair, reasonable roofing, siding, or gutter estimate, call Five-Ash Roofing at 367-0050. That's exactly what you'll get. No empty promises, no high-pressure sales tactics, and no fast-talking salesman trying to convince you that today and only today is the best day for you to get a new roof. For the record, the best day to get a new roof is when you're ready for one. Five-Ash Roofing, fair, honest, and ethical. 367-0050 or memphisroofer.com.
Five-Ash Roofing, it's what we do. We're here for you.
All 650 acquisition fee, $20,000 per year. K4 SEO 29100, MSRP 24230. Kilowatt SG 596,529, MSRP 41260. Includes all rebates and incentives. Excludes tax title and license. Must finance through KFA dealer stock only. See dealer for complete details. Offer valid through 1/2/25 with approved credit.
It's time to get happy during Jeff Allen's The Season of New Traditions sales event going on now at Gossett Kia South on Mount Moriah.
That's right, baby. Save big in 2025. Kia K4 LXS, $199 a month. $34.99 do it signing. Get the best SUV on the market. 2025 Telluride S front-wheel drive, $368 per month. $39.99 do it signing. All 24 month lease and 0% for 72 months on the 2024 EV9.
And every Gossett Kia comes with Kia's 10-year, 100,000-mile powertrain limited warranty.
So if you live in Horn Lake, South Haven, Olive Branch, or Memphis, you'll be happy at Gossett Kia on Mount Moriah. Happy holidays from all of us.
That's Gossett Kia South, 2680 Mount Moriah, or online anytime at KiaMountMoriah.com.
Do you know one of the best things you can do for your employees or family's health? Provide Arctic Clear bottled water. Arctic Clear bottled water is your locally owned and operated bottled water provider. Arctic Clear is 100% natural spring water with free delivery instead of dependable service and no long-term contracts. An easy choice. Call Jeff Menas today, 901-382-2363, or visit arctic-clear.com. Arctic Clear bottled water. Call now 382-2363. That's 382-2363.
Sports 56, WHBQ Memphis, and W253DF Memphis, with John Harden, weekdays from 11 to 1. Sports Time on Sports 56 and 95 FM. Once again, Brett Rosworthy and Ryan Davis.
Welcome back into Sports Time. Bryant and Darian with you on this Monday afternoon. We got to talk some college football, and joining us to do that, he usually joins us on Wednesdays, but nice enough to join us on a Monday afternoon to talk some college football. David Cohn, the co-host of Crane and Company, joins us now. David, thanks so much for joining us. A lot to get to. We got to break down these quarterfinal matchups, but a busy weekend for bowl games. What, if anything, really jumped out to you from the weekend of bowl games?
Yeah, we got one right now. I mean, it looks like Iowa and Missouri are really having a close game here, which is fun to watch. Going to finish up watching the fourth quarter when I get done with you guys here. We had some good football games. Again, we're in this weird position in college football where all of these bowl games, we used to only have bowl games, but now if you're not one of the college football playoff games, you have these situations where a lot of guys are opting out and you don't know who's playing. And you have a situation like Miami the other day with Cam Ward, who wants to play only in the first half of a game and set a personal record and not play in the second half of the game. I think we're going to be seeing a lot more of those types of things as we move forward with this different experimentation when it comes to college football's postseason. But guys, you know me, I love college football, so as long as two teams are going to be facing off against each other, I'm going to be watching. And I'm down here at my parents' home in Statesboro, Georgia, where, the pride of the Georgia Southern Football Eagles, and we're going to be watching college football all New Year's Eve day and all of New Year's Day as well.
That's right. Well, that's the beautiful thing about New Year's Eve and New Year's Day now is it's just jam-packed with these football games. And New Year's Day and I guess tomorrow night on New Year's Eve, we'll get quarterfinal action. You mentioned what Cam Ward did over the weekend. He wants to set the record. He goes out there, plays in the first half, gets his record, and then decides he does not want to play the rest of the game. What did you make of his decision? Because that feels like that's kind of been the biggest talking point over the weekend is if people were in favor of him doing that or not. What was your take on it?
Well, anybody who's familiar with our show of Craning Company, they know that I host a segment called Get Off My Lawn. So naturally, I'm not a fan whatsoever of what Cam Ward did to go out and play in one half of football, clearly saying, hey, what's most important to me is an individual record, and I could get hurt and ruin my NFL career here in one half of football, but I'm not going to play the second half of football. So I'm not a big fan of it, and I am a big fan of Cam Ward. Otherwise, I do think that he has a chance to be a special NFL quarterback. He has the skill sets if he continues to improve his game. Obviously, he's going to be a first-round draft pick, and I understand. Look, like I said, college football has changed, so more and more of these guys are going to be opting out. What's so frustrating about this situation is twofold. One, we were all told with NIL, remember Cam Ward was an NFL draft prospect a year ago, decided to come back to college because of the NIL payment that Miami was able to offer up. So in this scenario, if you're paying a kid to be on the team, how much of that goes into playing the football game? This is not like the NFL where I get to see a contract and you get paid this much money, and for that the team expects this from you. These NIL payments and collective payments, we really don't know. I don't know if Cam Ward was obligated to play in this game. I don't know, the way that Miami has tried to spin this is a coach's decision and we want to see the next guy get ready and all that. Spare me. I'll tell you what the most frustrating part of this is not even necessarily Cam Ward's decision or however it worked out with the coaching staff in a bowl game that's a non-college football playoff game. Again, I understand it. I've seen the direction the sport's heading. What the most frustrating part of this is watching the rest of the mainstream media world try and justify his decision. When you got guys like Robert Griffin III saying, well, anyone who's complaining about him sitting out, they would be making fun of him if he got hurt in a game and decided to play. What are you talking about? I just watched Matt Corral a couple years ago play in a game, get hurt, possibly hurt his draft stock. That guy is a living legend to me. I'll watch Matt Corral line up and play football any day. I'll sing his praises because I saw what that guy was willing to do for Ole Miss. And again, that's just one example. But these people that come out, like Stuart Mandel was another one who covers this sport professionally, who said, I thought that Miami handled this situation perfectly. Can you imagine a scenario where a young man decides to play one half of football to break an individual record, but not play the full game, sits over there on the sidelines when his team's down by 1 point, won't go join his teammates, and a sports writer describes that as perfect? No, I don't think so. So if you want to watch Craning Company, this is the sorts of takes you're going to get from our show, because I certainly wasn't a big fan of what was going on in that situation. Like I said, I do wish the kid the best moving forward. We need to step in and solve some of these problems with college football so we don't see more incentives like this for kids to sit out. But that's how I felt about watching that the other night.
Well, hello to you, sir. How are you today? So, quick question. Gunnar Stockton is he's the most intriguing thing to me going on right now about the college football playoff. So, what do you know, or what can you tell our listeners about Gunnar Stockton, and what is the game plan for Kirby Smart? How do you think he'll utilize Gunnar with what you know about him?
I know he's the pride of Rabun County, and I've spent a lot of time up there. They have a lot of good football players, man. So I have no doubt, being the Georgia boy he is, and I believe he was a 5-star prospect himself. Look, the kid can play football. If you're playing quarterback for Kirby Smart at the University of Georgia, I know that you can get the job done. And then I heard earlier this week that Nick Saban said, I've known the kid since he was 8 years old, and we had recruited him for a long time. So, look, he's going to line up, and he's going to be able to make some plays. The most interesting part of this is Carson Beck, who is now declared for the NFL draft, and he's not going to play in this college football postseason. I thought he had the worst year that I've seen of him so far. I thought he regressed this season, and yet there were times where he was throwing multiple interceptions per game, and Georgia's points per game went up. It went up from 31 points per game up to like 34 points per game. Clearly, they are the type of team that can overcome turning the football over because of the style of defense they play. It shocked me, that stat, throughout the season. And so when you look at the little bit of sample size that we have with Gunnar Stockton when he came in for Carson Beck against Texas in the SEC championship game, they were moving the football better for a lot of the second half against Texas. Now, can he do that and sustain that for an entire game when the opponent knows him and is prepping for him? That's what I think most of the college football world is looking at and wanting to know. And again, that interception late in the game against Texas, honestly, that should have been a dagger. That was a bad interception, and it should have been a pick six. They only had one guy to block. Instead of blocking him, they're celebrating the interception. That's the guy who makes the tackle, and Texas doesn't go down and score to take the lead. So, again, is that the Gunnar Stockton we're going to see, or is he going to step in and make more plays than even Carson Beck would? I don't know the answer to that. I know Georgia fans are hoping that it's the latter, that he's a guy who comes in and they don't miss a beat. But anyone who claims to know that right now, I don't think they do, other than the guys who are in that Georgia football locker room. And I think the way that Georgia called the second half of that Texas game was very indicative of how they feel about him, saying, hey, we're not going to miss a beat. We're going to put this guy in and be just fine.
David, one quick follow-up. You just intrigued the heck out of me. Last year, we saw Florida State get penalized for losing their quarterback. This year, for all intents and purposes, Georgia lost their starting quarterback. Kind of explain or tell me why Georgia did not seemingly get penalized as much or even slightly close as Florida State did last year. And I'm not saying, obviously, you couldn't have dropped them out of the top four, but why are they still the 2 seed and not the 4?
Well, one, you have to understand how the mechanism has changed this college football postseason. So now, and this is my favorite aspect of what we've changed, if you win your conference, not only are you in, but you get a chance at those first-round buys. So once Georgia finished that game with a win with Gunnar Stockton in there rather than Carson Beck, then not only were they going to be in the college football playoff, they were really going to be one of those top 4 seeds. The only question is, where do you seed them, right? And since they had beaten Texas, who I believe at that time was at 2, it made sense to put them there. So that's the mechanism. The interesting question is, what if Georgia had lost that game and then they have 3 losses on the season, but the third loss came in the SEC championship game? How do they get penalized in that scenario? And that's where you would have had a lot of college football fans, particularly in the ACC, and even more particularly Florida State fans, who said, no. Wait now. We had this exact same situation, and we got penalized. This is a clear case of SEC bias. That's what the conversation would have been. A few things to keep in perspective on that. One is, we saw at least, 3 football games, 2 at least, without Jordan Travis in Florida State last year. So you saw this direction that the committee was trending. And again, I thought that it was egregious to keep an undefeated Power 4 team out of the college football playoff when Florida State was undefeated. I didn't think we would ever see that. Again, I think the committee decided to play the bad guy role to put Alabama in and give us a more competitive playoff and give us a more competitive Rose Bowl with Michigan and Alabama, which I think we can all sit here and agree that's what we got. Again, in this scenario this year, it's just, you're not going to keep the team that won the SEC out, even if the mechanism had been the same. Or if Georgia had lost, I think they would have still tried to find a way to put Georgia in the college football playoff. That's just the reality of the world that we live in right now with how much power the SEC and the Big Ten have over college football. But I'll tell you what, it sure was interesting to watch the second half of that game and see, man, if Carson Beck is not able to go, how's this going to affect the college football playoff if this goes out? Another thing that Georgia fans were saying is, well, when Gunnar Stockton came in, we were actually moving the football better, so it sort of undermined a little bit of the argument that Florida State had a year ago. But anyway, it is a fascinating conversation, and certainly it gets pretty vitriolic when you go on social media and look up some of these conversations.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah. I'm curious. I was reading a story earlier today in The Athletic, and it was talking about how college football should also make the quarterfinals campus games, and kind of had different points that, kind of pointed to why they should do this. And one of them was you have these top 4 protected seeds that, are the top teams in the sport. And they laid out Oregon as kind of the example of Oregon, number 1 team all year long. They're the number 1 seed, and their reward is their first game being a game where they're underdogs right now against Ohio State, and you have to go and travel, your fan base has to travel, that they should make both the first round and the quarterfinals campus games. Now, Darian brought up the argument of, well, then what do you do with the Rose Bowl and the Fiesta Bowl and all of these great historic bowl games that will be played in the next 2 days for these quarterfinals? Where do you stand on maybe expanding the campus games for the playoffs?
I want to see as many college football games on college campuses as possible. Mm-hmm. What we saw in the first round was absolutely incredible. Was there a home field advantage? Clearly. Yes. Were all of those games blowouts? Yes, they were. Were the environments the absolute top tier of college football? Mm-hmm. Yes, that was insane. I want to see more of that. And however you need to maneuver the bowl games and the bowl licensing or whatever, we got to figure out a solution for that. At the same time, the argument that you're talking about, where the likes of Georgia and Oregon, they're penalized somehow because now they have to go play on a neutral site. I've seen the same thing you have the last couple of weeks, and I absolutely do not understand it. Do people not understand how advantageous it is to not have to play a football game at all in the first round? Yeah. I mean, yes, you had Notre Dame got to host a game. Penn State got to host a game. But you know what? They still had to play a football game. They still had to beat an opponent. They still had to deal with the possibility of having their playmakers get injured. You know who didn't have to do that? Oregon and Georgia and Arizona State and Boise State. So while, yes, they have to now go play at a neutral site game, which has been the norm for college football playoff games for the last decade, or really throughout all of the eternity of having bowls in the postseason, but they didn't have to play in that first round. The bye is what you really want. I would take the bye all day if it meant not having to play a football game. Now, where that got kind of interesting down the stretch was, let's say, a Colorado team. Now, what if Colorado had won the Big 12, which they were in contention right there until the last week of the regular season? That's an example where, yeah, you'd still love a bye, but think about Deion Sanders and the brand and the marketability there in Boulder, Colorado. That's a situation where it's like, well, you would like to play in the first round just to be able to market everything that you've built up over there if you're the prime Deion Sanders brand. Again, that was just sort of a side note that we had talked about for the last couple of weeks. But look, if you're able to get a first-round bye, you do whatever it takes to get a first-round bye. The next best thing, if you have to play in the first round or if you have to play in any round, the next best thing is then to be able to host at your home field.
Yeah. No, I'm definitely with you on that. Looking at some of these games, the first one, Penn State and Boise State, I'm really interested about this matchup. And you look at these kind of first 2 games we get, both very large point spreads. You got Penn State an 11-point favorite in this game against Boise State. Boise State, one of those teams you just mentioned, they were able to sit and relax in that first round while Penn State had to go out and beat an SMU team. How do you see this game playing out?
Well, look, I think most college football fans around the country, they don't want to see sort of a participation trophy spot where they say, well, it's mandatory that we're going to include a group of 5 team no matter what.
Mm-hmm.
Now, there are a lot of group of 5 teams. Like I just said, I'm coming live to you from Statesboro, Georgia. I think there's many years where the Georgia Southern Eagles, man, I would love to see them get a 12 seed and go punch above their weight against some of the best competition in the country, whether or not they would have won or lost those years. But the mandatory spot, I think, has frustrated a lot of people, maybe even some group of 5 fans and group of 5 teams, because they say, yeah, while it's great that one team will be in there every year, it sort of feels like, it was a spot that was given rather than earned, like in a contrast to what we saw with Cincinnati a couple years ago. But that aside, the situation is what the situation is, and this Boise State team is a very good football team, and Ashton Genty is a very good football player, and you can see that that's been indicative throughout the season. Again, they opened up the year right here at Paulson Stadium, just 5 miles from where I'm at. Ashton Genty had, 6 touchdown rushes? They rushed for, almost 300 yards, something like that. Followed that up with a 3-point loss against Oregon. So make no mistake, this is a really good football team. The question to me is going to be about Maddox Madsen. How consistently is he able to deliver the football through the air if Penn State decides to stack that box, bring those safeties down low, and make it a commitment to shut down Ashton Genty in the run game. And whether or not they can do that completely, that's one thing that I want to see. And if they are able to do that and shut down Boise's run game, then how effective is Maddox Madsen going to be through the air consistently? He's going to make some plays, but can he put the football through the air throughout an entire 60-minute ball game without making the sorts of mistakes that Penn State's able to capitalize on? So, look, again, as a college football fan, I hope that we're in for a great game. I do think that Penn State will come out victorious in this one, though.
Mm-hmm. What about that Texas-Arizona State game? I think everyone's falling in love with Kenny Dillingham and Scadaboo and kind of what this Arizona State team has done, going from picked last in the conference to winning the conference. Another big point spread against Texas. How do you see this game playing out?
Yeah, well, there are a lot of similarities with the game that you just talked about with Penn State and Boise State, and honestly, a lot of similarities to me with the game that in the first round for Texas against Clemson. Now, if you had told me the final score was Texas is going to beat Clemson by 2 touchdowns, I would have said, okay, well then a similar scenario that I just laid out for Maddox Madsen and Boise State played out with Clemson quarterback Cade Klubnik, right? Texas was able to shut down the run effectively. They asked Cade Klubnik to be an NFL player for 60 minutes, and he made some awesome plays, but you know what? That also came with multiple turnovers, and Texas was just able to capitalize and beat Clemson. Well, that's not really the case, right? Cade Klubnik was the reason that Clemson was able to come back and keep that football game close. And what a great time to play one of your best ball games when you're in your home state and you grew up just miles from that stadium there in Texas. So that was really cool to see. What I wasn't expecting is that Clemson on defense gave up, 295 yards of rushing to Texas. That's truly incredible, and that's a reminder to college football fans out there. When you think about Steve Sarkisian at Texas and you think about his play calling, the first thing that comes to mind may be all these high-flying passing concepts. Make no mistake, the guy wants to run the football. That was a perfect game plan for him that he had, being able to rush for almost 300 yards against what has been this season a pretty tough defense in Clemson. So, Mike, the same question is for Arizona State. If if Texas is able to shut down Cam Scadabo, who's one of my favorite players in all of college football, if they're really able to stack that box in a similar way that we're talking about with Penn State and Ashton Genty, then when it comes to the Arizona State offense and Sam Levitt, if he's putting the football in the air constantly in this game, can he do so effectively without making the big mistakes? And again, the mistakes can come in multiple forms. It doesn't just have to be an interception. What if he misses on a corner blitz that they're bringing and doesn't set the protection in the right way, and that leads to a strip sack fumble and Texas gets an easy 7 points? Well, you're already behind the 8 ball there. And the way that Arizona State is built, they're not really built to come from behind. So if you're down 14-0 early or 10-0 early against Texas, how committed can you stay to Cam Scadabo and the run game if you're already in a deficit? Those are a couple questions that I'm really interested to see how they play out here. But again, Arizona State, when you go back and look at the way they beat up on Iowa State in the Big 12 championship, absolutely beat them to pieces without their best wide receiver. You can see why this team is just sort of America's darling this year because of everything that Kenny Dillingham's been able to do. They're a good football team. They stick together. And again, I'm hoping that we see a great contest in this one.
Hey, David, I want to take you back to the old school. I have memories of big-time college players playing in big-time bowls, solidifying their NFL draft ranking. I can remember Ryan Leaf playing in big Rose Bowls, Charles Woodson with the rose in his mouth after the game, after Michigan won the Rose Bowl. So my question is, you see a lot of these top players, and I'm going to go ahead and call them the Cams, the Shadurs, those guys. Most people, I'll call it top 5 to 10 in mock drafts. They are losing in their bowl games. Travis Hunter, obviously teammates with Shadur. They are losing in these bowl games. So my question is, do you think playing in bowl games hurt or help draft stocks like back in the day? Like, are players solidifying their draft stock with great performances, or is the tape just what the tape is throughout the season?
Man, that's a really great question. Let me give you a little personal anecdote here with my father-in-law, Richard Todd. Richard Todd played for Bear Bryant in the early 70s at Alabama, and he was projected to get drafted, in the mid to later rounds. Then he had a great game against Auburn at the end of his senior year. That led to a great, I believe it was a Sugar Bowl performance, had a great Sugar Bowl performance, and then that got a Senior Bowl invite for him. He goes down to the Senior Bowl. I think he may have been the Senior Bowl MVP that year. Though that 3-game stretch ended up getting him drafted at number 6 overall by the New York Jets. He was completely shocked when Lou Holtz in that franchise drafted him. So that stretch right there of just 3 games in a row propelled his draft stock. Now, you contrast that with where we are in today's game. Yeah, there's just so much tape. This is a full-time job for so many of these scouts and GMs, where a lot of them they're either solidified already how they feel about a guy on the field, and they're just waiting to interview him and sort of deal with the intangibles and size him up in person when they get to either a pro day or the draft. That performance is sort of already on tape. They know what a guy is. I think a lot of these guys don't want a pick that they're in love with to take a chance on getting hurt in some of these bowl games, which I hate because, again, that's just the NFL sort of meddling in the sport that we all love so much, that is college football. That's part of it. But then you look at a situation last year with Michael Penix Jr. Michael Penix Jr., a guy who had, 4 season-ending injuries. And then he has back-to-back years at Washington where he throws for a combined 9,000 yards. That bowl game that he was able to play in the college football semifinal against Texas, he looked as good as any quarterback that I've seen. Now, he struggled against Michigan. Michigan's defense last year made a lot of quarterbacks struggle. So there was this conversation of, man, how can Michael Penix raise his draft stock so much in the semifinal game and then sort of give up all that progress that he had in the national championship? So it was at least fun to see that conversation playing out in these games later in the season mattering and having guys' draft stock be affected by how they play, because there is some recency bias. You want to see a guy perform well when you go out and watch him. And, just bringing up Michael Penix Jr., I think you could see on display even last night when the Falcons were coming back and forcing overtime against the Redskins there that they made the right decision because that guy can absolutely sling it.
Mm-hmm. Last thing for you, David, before we let you go, maybe the most anticipated game for the weekend in the quarterfinals, Ohio State and Oregon, a game we've already seen once this season, a conference game that, if people remember, Oregon needed a field goal with under 2 minutes left in that game to take the lead and win that game. Now Ohio State, a 2.5-point favorite, even though they're the lower seed. Who do you think wins this game?
Man, I'll tell you what, I'm going to stick with Oregon just because Oregon's won every single football game. I think that they deserve that, but I'll tell you what, it's hard to beat a good football team twice, and that's what Oregon's trying to do, and they're trying to beat a team that looked perfect in the opening round. So the question for me is, look, everything was right for the Buckeyes to put on a great performance in that first round. They played the worst football game I've ever seen them play in that loss to Michigan. That was a rivalry game. They had weeks and weeks and weeks to hear how overrated they are, and they still have a bunch of really good football players. So I knew that they were going to come out hot. I didn't think they'd beat Tennessee the way that they did, but them looking good wasn't that big of a surprise to me. But, man, can they replicate that? Can they look perfect twice in a row. I don't know if they'll quite play against Oregon the way they did against Tennessee, but I think we're in for a heck of a game with that one. I think the betting line right now with Buckeyes -2.5, something like that, I think that's right. I mean, it's essentially a pick 'em to me. You can get Oregon at plus money. I really like that. But, I'm just going to I'm going to stay away from the betting on that one and just sit back with a bag of popcorn and just enjoy it.
Yeah, no, that one is going to be fun Wednesday night. Well, David, as always, thanks so much for joining us, and thank you for joining us the last couple of weeks on Mondays. Next week, we'll get you back to your regular Wednesday slot, but we really appreciate you hopping on with us on Monday, and Happy New Year to you and your family.
Thank you guys for having me.
Hey,
Happy
David,
New Year.
before you get out of here, any Christmas music? Did you drop any Christmas music?
Yeah.
Any what Christmas music?
Yeah, did you drop any Christmas music this year?
Oh, I didn't drop any original Christmas music, but hey, if that's something you're really into, my dad and I got the guitar out right back here on the couch, so we can write a couple Christmas songs. In terms of what I'm listening to, I mean, "Blue Christmas" by Elvis is just always a favorite of mine.
Yeah, I love it.
I heard it. I'm a big fan.
We were talking a couple weeks ago that, Dave, we need some Christmas music from you. I mean, you've been making great songs, but we got to get a Christmas song next year from you.
Say no more, fellas. We're on it.
Let's do it. Awesome. David, we'll talk to you again next week.
Thank you, fellas. David
Cohn joining us from Crane and Company.
I guess he broke the Michael Bublé Elvis tie between you guys. He hollered Elvis, not Michael Bublé.
Hey, Elvis, how about
Look,
that?
I never said that I didn't like the Elvis Blue Christmas song. It's great. It's iconic. It's original.
That's right.
But man, Michael Bublé just does something.
It was just amazing. David went right there off the hip. That's all.
He just shot
he just shot off the hip with the Elvis deal.
And shot with Elvis.
I didn't feel like that was a
I
shot
was
at
wishing
me
he said
at
Josh
all.
Groban. So he
I didn't know.
three-way tie. Yeah.
I didn't know we were in like a war about it.
I
That's
didn't
news
think
to
we
me.
were either. I thought we just liked Christmas music.
So David mentioned if you can get Oregon at plus money that he is all about that right now. I'm at least using DraftKings. Oregon plus 110 money line against Ohio State.
I think the neutral feel is just, man.
I mean, they're the number one team in the country. They haven't lost a game all season. Do you not? I mean, from a betting aspect, do you not just throw a little bit of money on that?
Nope.
This is where we call John Hart and get his thoughts on this.
My eye test said perfect game Ohio State last week.
What about the game before that against Michigan?
But watch this. Not in Eugene. And
true.
Like that's enough for me. That's the tiebreaker. That 3 point swings the other way.
Well, and that's a good point by you because I think a lot of people forget how close that game was.
Yes.
In Eugene for Ohio State to win. I mean, they had the lead. Oregon comes back, they get the lead again, and then Oregon goes down and kicks a field goal with about 1:45 left in the game to win it. So, no, I think that's going to be
And I guess I forgot my own point that Oregon, they are Pac State, Rose Bowl mainstays as well. So they are not unfamiliar with being. So both are. So so I think it is neutral in every sense of the way.
Well, I think I'm like David. I think I'm just going to sit back and enjoy.
Oh yeah, you enjoy that. I believe Brett was kind of painting the scene for us a month or two ago. He's like Ohio State. Pasadena, sunsetting, 5 o'clock, New Year's Day. Where else would you rather be if you're not in the stadium besides at home watching?
Nothing better. Well, let's get to a break, and when we come back, it'll be time for our Sissy's Log Cabin look back at the weekend in the SEC.
Be sure to follow us at Sports56 WHBQ on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube to watch live video of our shows. Stay up to date with station events and have chances to win prizes. Don't miss out on anything that's going on. Follow us at Sports56 WHBQ.
Locally owned and operated for over 40 years, Automatic Gates Construction tailors custom-made solutions for all your residential, commercial, and industrial needs, including repairs, maintenance, and installation. Automatic Gates Construction specializes in designing and installing automatic gates and fencing that seamlessly blends security, functionality, and aesthetic appeal. Elevate the safety and efficiency of your property with a premium gate solution. Automatic Gates Construction at myautomaticgates.com.
At
Jason's Deli, when you're dining in or picking up curbside, you can expect wholesome food and no surprises, just delicious sandwiches, crisp salads, and quick quality meals made with the freshest ingredients and no artificial trans fats, MSG, high fructose corn syrup, or artificial colors and dyes. Around here, a lot of thought goes into what we put into our food and what we take out of it, because you're not just taking a bite, you're getting a taste of who we are. New items are constantly being created to expand our menu for all tastes and special diets with vegan and gluten-free options available. Convenience and on-time delivery you can count on. It's just a click away at jasonsdeli.com, so whether you need to feed 5 people or 5,000, the team at Jason's Deli, they have the credentials and the commitment to keep you satisfied. Freshness is nearby at Jason's Deli with locations at Ridgeway in the Park Place Center, Poplar and Highland, Germantown Road in Cordova, and on Goodman Road in Olive Branch. Jason's Deli. It's wholesome food and no surprises.
Hungry for that delicious smash burger flavor? Dyer's Cafe is the original smash burger since 1912 and still smashing burgers in Collier's historic town square. Come out for their lunch specials Monday through Friday 11 to 2. Ask about the world-famous split dog and authentic Chicago or New York dog. Try the leaner side of Dyer's with the grilled chicken sandwich or freshly made salad. Also serving lakes, Delta-raised catfish, Pasquale's tamales, and a customer favorite hand-breaded onion rings. Dyer's, serving world-famous burgers, dogs, and shakes in Collier's historic town square.
Welcome to Triumph Auto Sales, where you'll have a great car buying experience. Triumph Auto Sales is your #1 source of quality pre-owned vehicles ranging from lease returns to new car trades, all at huge savings. Plus, Triumph has a full array of financing options to meet your needs. Find your next car online at TriumphAutoSales.com or stop in today at 4875 Elmore Road. Triumph Auto Sales will help you get the vehicle you want at the price you need and the service you deserve. For a great car and a great experience from a local and family-owned business, visit Triumph Auto Sales.
Scott Graham here from Westwood One. Coming up on Monday Night Football, the 13-2 Lions travel west to face the San Francisco 49ers. Jared Goff and Detroit have locked up a playoff spot but have work to do to claim their first ever back-to-back division title and the top NFC postseason seed. Jason Benetti and Hall of Famer Kurt Warner will have the call on Monday Night Football.
Right here on Sports 56.
I've got huge news for you. The countdown is on. Monday Night Raw is coming to Netflix. Starting January 6th, WWE Monday Night Raw will be live every week on Netflix. Live drama, live heroes, live action. The premiere episode on Netflix will feature some of the biggest names in WWE, such as John Cena, undisputed WWE champion, the American Nightmare Cody Rhodes, Roman Reigns, CM Punk, and Bianca Belair. There's never been a better time to step into the ring and stream WWE Raw. WWE Monday Night Raw premieres Monday, January 6th at 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Eastern, live only on Netflix.
Sweetie, come here. Don't worry. I see a lot of patients with the exact same thing.
Ever since the ice skating rink went in next door, Dr. Clark's business is heating up.
So many patients need my help. How will I find time to see all of them?
They need to hire a scheduler, stat.
I need Indeed.
Indeed you do. When you sponsor a job on Indeed, it's easier for talented candidates to find it, which makes it easier for you to hire them. Visit Indeed.com/credit and get $75 towards your first sponsored job. Terms and conditions apply.
This Rebel is online radio show is on WHBQ Sports 56 and 98.5 FM every Monday night at 6. Hear the latest news on your Ole Miss Rebels with Nancy Porter with 24/7 Sports. Your Ole Miss defensive captain Mike Fitzsimmons, Gordon Ford covering SEC sports now, and former Ole Miss baseball announcer Gary Garvey working off the first throw to extra innings. Your Ole Miss Sports on the Rebel Yellow Halftime Show right here Monday night at 6 on Sports 56 live 60 AM and 98.5 FM. Your Mid-South Sports Station. Sportstime on Sports 56 and 95 once again, Records Ruby and Ryan Davis.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Time for a look back at the weekend in the SEC. Brought to you by Sissy's Log Cabin, the official jeweler of the Memphis Grizzlies with 9,000 square foot in Laurelwood. Let's go inside the SEC with Bryant and Brett.
Chad Kelly in the gun formation. 3rd and inches for Ole Miss.
Carlton will kick it. It is on the way, and it is up.
Buck Bellew looking at it, going to pitch it to Herschel Walker, try to get him outside. He's going to get 5.
The snap is high. Kelly grabs it, wants to throw, fires it up in the air. Treadwell can't get it.
It is good! Oh, my!
Get it to is caught. Deflection is caught. And down the sidelines is Adebayo. He's to the end zone. He's in there. Touchdown, Ole Miss.
He's got 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40. He needs a block. There goes Herschel. There goes Herschel.
And you can wrap this one in maroon and white, my friends.
Arkansas is headed to Atlanta. The national champion is clad in big orange.
Well, the weekend of the SEC really was the Friday of the SEC. All the games we're going to talk about today in our Sissy's Log Cabin look back at the weekend in the SEC came in bowl games on Friday, and it started off 11 a.m. in the Lockheed Martin Armed Forces Bowl. Oklahoma and Navy, a game where Navy won 21-20 over OU. But this game, it was a weird one. OU jumps out 14-0 at the end of the first quarter. Navy cuts into that lead, made it 14-7 at half, and Navy was the better team in the second half. They get the 21-20 win. Michael Hawkins Jr., he started for Oklahoma, the guy that's kind of been in and out of the starter spot all year. He threw 247 yards, 2 touchdowns, 28 for 43. Oklahoma ran for 158 yards. Gavin Sawchuk led the team, 67 yards rushing and a rushing touchdown. You look at Navy and what they were able to do. We know this different Navy offense that I think people in conference are very familiar with, but when you see a different team out of conference like OU, it could give them problems. It didn't give them problems earlier. I mean, early in that game, Navy really struggled moving the ball, and I thought they were going to struggle the entire game and lose that game. But Blake Horvath, he threw for 92 yards but ran for 155 yards and 2 rushing touchdowns. When you look at what these two teams did against each other, Navy only had 11 first downs in this game, which is kind of hard to believe. OU had 27 of them. Total yards, Oklahoma recorded 433 total yards, Navy 318. But kind of going back to what Brett always talks about, you win the rushing battle, you usually win the game. Navy 226 rushing yards to Oklahoma's 158. We talked about it on Friday, Landon and I did, and Landon was saying that, he didn't mind the call, because what I guess I should say, Oklahoma scores with 7 seconds left. The extra point would have tied the game. They elect to go for 2. They missed the 2-point conversion, which made it a 1-point loss. And I agreed with Landon. I don't mind the going for 2 in a bowl game, but when you look at Oklahoma and what this year has been, and you send it into overtime, you feel probably pretty good against Navy that you can win this game.
Neutral site, fellas. You go to overtime.
Yeah, you go to
Neutral
overtime.
Site, Landon. You go to overtime.
You feel good. Now you're an Oklahoma team that finished the season 6-7.
Wow.
You didn't look good in conference play, and you lost to Navy in a bowl game. That fan base is not going to be happy.
Nah, but you know what you do? You show recruits the Alabama game.
Mm-hmm.
That's what you do. You plant the OU flag. You say, we are OU, and you show them the Alabama game and say, hey, bluer skies are to come.
Imagine if they hadn't won that game. I mean, first off, we wouldn't even be talking to them right now because they wouldn't have made a bowl game. But that was definitely the highlight of their season.
You recall who you had on that game? I had Navy with the +7. I go back. I tend to go back and look at our picks.
I think I had Navy.
I had Navy with the +7.
I think I had.
Makes me feel better about that one. Seeing how I'm in third place, I always kind of try to see how I got there.
I don't look back. I'm in first place.
Navy a group block?
I think it was.
So everybody had it.
I think so.
I had the same.
Because even I joined in. And I said
that was a lot of points for in my estimation to give Navy, especially the way they looked and the way Oklahoma got to play throughout the season.
I was also telling Brian I had done my big number on how many people had opted out of bowl games, and Oklahoma had 23.
Come on, Landon.
They had 23 opted out due to the transfer portal, which I've had my fair share of talking about how ridiculous the transfer portal
Brett Venables, get your life together. People transfer and leaving OU. Wow.
Man,
it's ridiculous.
It's crazy. The next game we got to talk about, Vanderbilt, a 35-27 win over Georgia Tech in the Birmingham Bowl. Diego Pavia put on a show. Check this out. 160 passing yards, 3 passing touchdowns, 84 rushing yards, and 2 rushing touchdowns. He accounted for all of the points for Vanderbilt in what was a really impressive showing by Diego Pavia. A little bit of what we've come to love of Diego Pavia at Vanderbilt. Like I mentioned, he threw for 160 yards. The Doors ran for 146. This is one of those rare games where the rushing battle did not lead to a victory. Georgia Tech ran for 190 yards. Vanderbilt only 146. Kind of surprising there when you look at it and you think back at what Vanderbilt has done. We were talking about that game on Friday. Vanderbilt trying something different, going deep early in that game, throwing the ball downfield. I was a little surprised about that. Eli Stowers, who has been great for them all season, he had a receiving touchdown, led the team in receiving with 55 yards. You look at the game stats in that game, total yards, Georgia Tech 394, Vanderbilt only 306. But when you look at the turnover battle,
that was it.
That was what made the game. Georgia Tech 2 turnovers in that game that Vanderbilt turned into points. So now you look at Vanderbilt, kind of the other side of Oklahoma. What a season for Vanderbilt, and now so much momentum. 7-6, a bowl win, their first bowl victory
How about
since
this?
2013.
You show them the Alabama game.
Show them the Alabama game. There seems like, and especially with Diego Pavia, gonna be back next year.
Has he signed his NIL for next year?
Yeah, he's back. He's
already
said he's back. I don't know the nitty gritty of the details.
But he's already.
But he has put out there that he's back, and I know that injunction, whatever you want to call it, of that appeal that him
I call
suing,
it the DeAndre Williams rule.
Yes, they've already said that if that gets appealed down the road, there will be no penalty to him or Vanderbilt. So he'll be back at Vanderbilt next year. It feels like
good.
A lot
No stripping
of
nothing. Okay, good.
Got to run through these last couple of games. We're kind of running out of time. Arkansas, 39-26 win over Texas Tech right here in Memphis in the AutoZone Liberty Bowl. Great game from Taylor Green, the game that I think will build. We always talk about guys having games in bowl season that in turn creates a lot of off-season hype for what they could do next year. I think this was the Taylor Green game, 341 yards, 2 touchdowns. I think he's going to be a guy that we're talking about offseason, what he can do as a dual-threat quarterback. He led the team in rushing with 81 yards and a rushing touchdown. He could be a guy that we're hyping up throughout the offseason that could really be a key figure in the SEC. Arkansas ran for 218 yards, 1 yard more than what Texas Tech ran for, 217 rushing yards for Tech. Texas Tech threw for 280 yards. A really good win for Arkansas in that.
A lot of offense, man. How about being in the Simmons Liberty Bank, man, stadium with that game? 39-26. Good crowds, too. Very, very good crowds. I was in the midst of everything, being at the other job. And a lot of Arkansas, a lot of Texas Tech downtown. So, from what I understand, good, safe, and enjoyable time.
Yeah, no, they have. That was a good game. And it feels like you look back the last 4 or 5 years, even further, but my memory, that's all I can remember for whatever reason. We've had some really, really good games in the AutoZone Liberty Bowl. The last game that we have to recap was the SRS Distribution Las Vegas Bowl. It was another loss for the SEC. Texas A&M takes the 35-31 loss against USC. A very weird game where Texas A&M leads by 10 points in the third quarter, and they get outscored 21-7 in the fourth quarter. SC comes back and wins this game. You look at Marcel Reed, 292 passing yards, 3 touchdowns, 2 interceptions for him. On the other side, Jaden Mayava, 295 passing yards, 4 touchdowns, 3 interceptions. A&M ran for 151 yards, but it wasn't enough. That defense just kind of gave up too many points, too much late in that game. SC comes back and wins that game 35-31. But I think a good year in the first year of that new era down at Texas A&M. I think a really solid first year, and I think can build a lot down there at College Station after an 8-5
I think on NCAA they'll still be the number 1 toughest place to play next year.
No, I don't think so.
Yeah, you killed them for that this year.
Yeah, well, that's weird. I mean, I don't know.
It's like Kyle.
I didn't know.
What?
I mean, I didn't know if it was good or not, so I left it up to Brett. Brett. And Brett was like,
that was
no
Brett.
way.
Okay, yeah, that was Brett.
And then I was
what?
like, all right, I'm in on it. They shouldn't be number one.
What?
Games to keep an eye on next couple of days for the SEC. Tomorrow morning, Alabama against Michigan in the ReliaQuest Bowl. That'll be tomorrow morning, 11 a.m. on ESPN. South Carolina against Illinois in the Cheez-It Citrus Bowl tomorrow afternoon, 2 o'clock on ABC. LSU against Baylor in the Kindlers Texas Bowl tomorrow afternoon, 2 o'clock on ESPN. Texas against Arizona State Wednesday in the Chick-fil-A Peach Bowl, 12 o'clock on ESPN. Georgia against Notre Dame in the All-State Sugar Bowl Wednesday, 7:45 on ESPN. And then the SEC, well, at least in the bowl slate, we don't know, obviously, Texas and Georgia could still be alive after their games, but Ole Miss will wrap up the bowl slate against Duke in the Tax Slayer Gator Bowl.
And Wednesday,
Thursday,
get settled in. 4 o'clock and 7 o'clock. Wow.
Yeah, there's going to be good
some
games.
Great games.
Yeah, you got noon, 4 o'clock, 6:30, or 7:45. So, it's going to be back to back to back. I love that they're all standalone games. And really, just playing your day out around it.
And quickly, I can it to what I call my absolute favorite weekend of NFL, and it's divisional weekend.
Yeah.
Divisional weekend, you have your Super Bowl champion obviously playing that weekend, but there's about 8 teams and you don't know which one, and all of them are good teams that either had a bye or won their first round and deserve to be there. So that's what you got this week coming up.
No, it's going to be a ton of fun. Let's go ahead and get to another break, and when we come back, it'll be time for Big Number of the Day.
We are real sports talk. Sports 56 WHBQ. Available on your radio dial at 560 AM and 98.5 FM, as well as around the world online at sports56whbq.com. Take us with you everywhere by downloading the Sports 56 app. And at home, just say, Alexa, play Sports 56.
Through the end of January, Family Leisure has got to get rid of all the 2024 inventory because all the new 2025 items are starting to arrive. All floor models are up to 50% off. You want a cold plunge tub? They start at $49.99. Go the other route with a hot tub. Get $3,000 off with free steps and chemicals. Family Leisure has pool tables, arcades, ping pong, air hockey, even baseball tables from 20 to 60% off. Well, here's it. Has their selling up to 75% off. Plus, now's the time to start thinking about pool season. You can buy it on the installation schedule and be ready before everyone else. Special financing is also available. If you want to get free delivery on any of these items, you just tell the phone staff at Family Leisure because you are this commercial. It's the floor model. So now, through the end of January, Family Leisure, 100 I-40, family and fun come together.
Ho, 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 Mid-South, you're not going to believe the deals happening at Gossett Volkswagen Germantown. It's the Signs and Drive sales event. 0 down payment, 0 security deposit, 0 first month lease payment, 0 due at signing. Marty McNade at Gossett Volkswagen Germantown's got 2024 Peak Edition Atlas, $5,000 off. 2024 Tiguan, 0% for 60 months. 2024 Taos S, 0 down, $337 a month. Plus, get brand new 2023 Taos, $25,999. You gotta get to Gossett Volkswagen Germantown, 7420 Winchester Road, or shop online at GossettVWG.com. Ask for Marty McNade at Gossett Volkswagen Germantown, and remember, your future's what you make it.
Since 1948, in the alley, the Rendezvous. I'm with John Vargas. John, what's going on in the Rendezvous? Brett, after 76 years, we've decided to expand our product line. Anyone who's tasted our ribs is familiar with our vinegar base. It's now available in a 32-ounce jar. It's so good to base or marinate all meats. I even put a little bit on turnip greens. Something we've been using at the restaurant or in our house has been a Greek seasoning. My father was a cook, but my mother was a chef. And she was the one that put Greek seasoning on everything from a Mediterranean diet to steak. My mom used it on soup, salad, veggies, fish, any meat. It's a great seasoning and a flavor enhancer. My brother Nick figured out salt and pepper is more than just McCormick's and Morton's. He's come up with a perfect blend we use to
coat of shoulders and a brisket, and he used to make it for his friends as Christmas gifts, and they loved it. All these products are made by Rendezvous. They're online for shipping as gifts and in many grocery stores. And if they're not in your favorite grocery store, ask your grocer to stock it. A beloved family affair is still going strong since 1948. Rendezvous. Sportstime on Sports 56 and 95.
Big Daddy.
Hello, Big Brand. It's a guy, he wants to be big, then he gets big, he doesn't want to be big anymore, then he gets small, but the suit's too big.
Big Daddy.
The big boy.
You're a big guy. I think she's trying to pull a fast one on Big Daddy.
The big number of the day.
Well, I came loaded with big numbers today. I have 3.
Sounds like you got a decimal for me.
No
decimals?
I don't have a decimal.
Okay,
I don't have a decimal. I will start with the Tigers. So a Tiger-related big number of the day. And the big number is 6. And my buddy, shout out Jackson, he was actually the person that made me research this during the Ole Miss game because Memphis is up big, they're playing well, they're unranked against Ole Miss, and he sent a text message in a group chat that we're both in, and he said, Penny Hardaway is like undefeated as an unranked team playing ranked teams. He's like incredible against it. Or he goes, I think. He goes, it's got to be like almost perfect. And I was
the
like,
same way he is against the ACC.
Yeah, I was like, I'm curious now. I want to look back since Penny Hardaway took over at the University of Memphis. How is he against, as an unranked team, against ranked teams? So I did all of the math and went back. And again, this is on ESPN. I was looking at ESPN's schedules, and it has the teams that are ranked at the time. And Memphis, these were the games. Memphis was unranked. Regular season games. So we're not counting Houston in the AAC tournament when they're ranked, but no, because they're seeded at that point. So I did not put that. This is just regular season. The Tigers improved to 10-10 in the Penny Hardaway era as an unranked team against ranked teams. But I said my big number was 6. Last year and this year, so the last 2 years, including this season, Penny Hardaway is 6-1 when his team is unranked facing a ranked team. He is 3-1 this year. He has wins against number 2 UConn. He was unranked at that point. He has a win over number 16 Clemson. They were unranked at that point. And then Saturday, a win over, I think they were number 19 in the country, Ole Miss. He got that win. The only loss this season against a ranked opponent when Memphis was unranked was against Auburn. Last year, Memphis was 3-0 unranked against ranked teams. They had a win over number 20 Arkansas. That was in their tournament last year, the Battle for Atlantis. A win over number 21 Texas A&M. That was an early December matchup on the road that they won. And a home win unranked over number 13 Clemson. So good numbers there. 6-1 the last 2 years against as an unranked team against ranked teams. I'll eliminate one of my big numbers because we're kind of running out of time. The other one, Darian, you know I love birthdays. My big number is the number 40, the big 40.
Come on, for the king. Tell me for the king. Yes.
LeBron James. Happy birthday, LeBron James. I saw this on Twitter.
Terry Davis, that's for you.
That's right. Who says he's not a Laker fan this year. He never scored less than 10 points in a game in his 30s.
Oh, okay.
Never in his 30s. Okay. We're talking about a man that just turned 40.
Okay.
The last time he scored less than 10 points, this is regular season and postseason.
I used to know this one.
Was in the playoffs in 2011, a game against Dallas. He was 26, so he's turning 40. Yeah. The last time he scored in single digits, he was 26 years old.
And I believe that game you're talking about, that was the first game since his rookie season that he hadn't scored double digits. Double digits was a big thing with him.
It's insane. And just going back, I was looking through I pulled up game logs, and I was just looking through all of them, just at points and seeing how many points he'd scored, and just seeing these numbers. 20 after 20 after 20 after 30. Then you'd get like a 51-point game, 49-point game. He's incredible. Happy birthday, LeBron.
All right, Landon, follow along. Let me see if you can kind of guess what the big number
Playing
is.
a game.
Okay, so next week, final week of the NFL season, which means there's 1 week left in the NFL season. Next week, you know what is up for grabs? The number 1 pick for the NFL draft. The Patriots don't have that locked up quite yet. They have the Buffalo Bills coming to them. And
Titans are in the hunt for that.
Titans are in the hunt. Titans are in the hunt. Also up for grabs with 1 week left. The NFC number 1 seed is up for grabs next week. There is 1 more game before then, and that is tonight. So my big number of the day obviously is 1. Detroit Lions, before you play for the number 1 seed, you have 1 game to play. And that game is tonight, 7:15 Central Time in the world-famous Levi Stadium in Santa Clara, California.
Against your 49ers?
Against my 49ers, and I have not been excited for a game since we've been eliminated, and we actually got eliminated on the same day. I told you my Cowboy cousin hit me with the 1-2-3 Cancun.
Yes.
So my big number of the day is 1. 1 week left in the season. The number 1 seed for the NFC will be up for grabs if the Detroit Lions handle their business. Number 1 draft pick up for grabs, but there's 1 game left before all of that is being said, final, and done. That's tonight.
Yeah, and we'll break down that game in about 30 minutes during our Monday Night Football pick and preview. We'll make our pick. We'll also have to do Big 4 for the Lions and 49ers, guys that will be playing tonight. Update in the Music City Bowl right up the road in Nashville, Missouri.
The hook got me.
27-24 win. So it was.
It's the hook, man.
It was Mizzou minus 3.5.
Yep, it was the hook. Yep, I had, and it wasn't looking so good. So when I looked over it while you were talking, I almost gave out a shout because I was like, "Yay, Mizzou!" But then I just saw what was going on. I was like, they're going to take a knee. They're going to take a knee.
Tough.
It was the hook.
Yeah, and I think earlier, that line was...
It was ugly. Yeah, that was ugly.
Like a 2-point line or maybe a 1-point line.
That's why you take the John Harden approach of live betted. I guarantee you could have got 6.
I'm sure. Oh, yeah, definitely.
Instead of 3.5.
Yeah, well, let's go ahead and get to another break, wrap up our second hour. When we come back, we're talking a whole lot of Grizzlies with DeMichael Cole.
Ken Garland, you are in your 72nd year of business. Your son William is now joining you. What do you think is the key to your longevity in the building business?
My dad started the business in 1965, and I think being on the job sites daily and being accessible to homeowners has been a key to our success.
You guys have a work ethic, as you like to say. You're not hiring people to be on the site. You guys are there every day.
We interact with the subcontractors multiple times a day on each job site. I think that has been a key, as well as using the same subcontractors 20-plus years in most cases.
When you talk about materials, what is the first thing you're thinking about when somebody comes to you to build a home?
We're just trying to meet the expectations of the client and the homeowner and the architect and give them what their dream is.
When you get a Ken Garland home, what do you guarantee?
We'll be there after the job is finished. We're still accessible to all our clients.
Now I need to know, how do I get a hold of Ken Garland?
You can reach us at kengarland.com.
For over 8 decades, America's farmers have counted on the little red tractor from Case IH, the Farm Hall, to help them make short work of their demanding chores. No Mid-South Ag can show you they aren't just for farms anymore. With horsepower ranging from 30 to 105, plus an army of attachments, they can tackle every chore on your to-do list. From hauling and mowing to loading and towing and then some. Stop by Mid-South Ag Equipment or call 662-890-3141 to find a Case IH Farm Hall that's right for you.
What if you could unlock over $1 million
in personal and business credit. That's exactly what Ray Reynolds can do for you. I'm talking about protecting your family and building your business with $100,000 in personal or business cash credit. And Ray can help you rebuild your credit score to 750. Ray Reynolds isn't just any expert. He helped the security chief of TRW that became Experian, one of the most trusted credit bureaus. If you're looking to get your finances on track, Ray is the man you should call for a 750 credit score. Call Ray at 800-427-5991. 800-427-5991. Join his live webinars and attend his weekly workshops to learn the insider strategies for hitting your personal and business goals. Ready for a 750 credit score and your first $100,000 in credit? Call Ray Reynolds now at 800-427-5991. That's 800-427-5991.
Napa Cafe celebrates 26 years in 2024. Hi, I'm Glenda Hastings, owner of Napa Cafe, and I want to thank you for making us part of your dining experiences. If you're a first-time guest or have dined with us countless times, I want to thank you for making us part of your lives. Whether you're celebrating with the crowd or planning a cozy date night on the town, Napa Cafe can provide you an extraordinary evening. We have 5 dining rooms, including our private wine cellar, our Jan's room for 2 guests, and the Eleanor room for parties up to 60. Sit back, relax, and celebrate. Leave the cooking to us. Come see me at Napa Cafe, 5101 Sanderlin Avenue. We're open Wednesday through Saturday for dinner starting at 5 o'clock. We also offer curbside pickup from our full menu. For details on our stay-in, dine-out menu or reservations, visit our website at napacafe.com. Come join us as we celebrate 26 years of Napa Cafe in 2024. We can't wait to serve you.
This is Original Sports Station. We are Sports 56, WHBQ Memphis, and W253DF Memphis. Now, back to Sports Time on Sports 56 and 98.5 FM. This hour brought to you by Jaguar Land Rover once again.
You say you stand by your man. Tell me something I don't understand. You said you love me, and that's a fact.
Welcome back into Sports Time. Bryant and Darian with you. No Brett today. He'll be back on Monday. We got to talk Grizzlies now, and joining us every single Monday to talk the Grizzlies, DeMichael Cole joins us now. DeMichael, thanks so much for joining us. Well, last night was not fun to watch against the Thunder in a game that a lot of guys were out for the Grizzlies, and with how last season was and kind of how this season has been going, everyone hates when the injury bug pops up, and it popped up last night. What can you tell us, because we haven't really gotten an official update yet from the Grizzlies, what can you tell us about Ja Morant's injury? I know Darian was saying earlier he did not like the visual when he turned the game on last night.
Sling scared the hell out of me.
Sling.
Scared me.
Yeah, you got to remember some of that stuff is precautionary, with putting the arm in the sling and stuff like that. But at the same time, there is some concern, I think, just solely from the fact that, he's going to miss some time. And the time just so happens to be, as I was writing yesterday, the hardest part of the schedule today. Mm-hmm. Like, up to this point, the Grizzlies have played a lot of Eastern Conference teams, right? They played the Wizards. They played the Bulls a couple times. They played the Nets 3 times. Like, they've had kind of an Eastern Conference heavy schedule up to this point, which has been good because they've been, they were dealing with a lot of injuries. But the downside of it is now that you're dealing with more injuries, you're about to go to this tough stretch against the West. So it's not even just this road slate coming up. Like, you got the Kings, you got the Suns, and you got the Warriors. That's 10, 11, 12 in the West. So this is supposed to be your quote-unquote easier stretch, if it is technically speaking, in the Western Conference. Mm-hmm. But when you get after that, you got Dallas, who they're playing without Luka. But go check the record. When Kyrie's playing and Luka's not playing, it's been pretty good. So they're still going to be very formidable. Then you got Houston. Of course, Houston is one of the teams that really kind of put it on the Grizzlies earlier this season. But that was without Jaren Jackson Jr., so he wasn't playing yet. But basically, you got some really challenging games. I think after these games against the Kings and the Suns, coming up these next 2. They have 8 straight games after that against teams with records over 500, and that hasn't happened at any point earlier this season.
No, it has not, and it's going to be a challenge, especially with these guys out. Some of the other guys that were out, Santi Aldama and Marcus Smart, both out, and we got medical updates on both of those guys. Smart is set to be reevaluated in 2 weeks. Aldama, who has a left ankle sprain, considered week to week. Both those guys felt like Marcus Smart playing really well off the bench, and Santi Aldama has been great off the bench in the starting rotation wherever they've needed him. How much, especially from a depth side, I mean, we've been talking about how deep this team is. Will it be without both those guys for the next couple weeks?
It's tough. It's tougher than a lot of people think, and the reason that I say that, because those are what you call connector type players, and the best way to explain it is if you watch the Grizzlies offense against the Thunder. Of course, any offense against the Thunder is not going to look normal because the Thunder they just have a real good defense, but the Grizzlies' primary playmakers were okay. Like Scottie Pippen Jr. was fine. I think he finished with 6 assists. Desmond Bain, when he was primary playmaker, he was all right. I think he finished with 4 assists in this game. But the problem was they weren't getting those hockey assists, where the ball is just constantly moving, finding guys, and everyone, like, the way we're used to seeing the Grizzlies' offense flow. It wasn't a lot of that. And part of that is because all of the Grizzlies' top secondary playmakers are out right now. So if you look at it like this in the simplest form, the guys who average the most assists on the Grizzlies, the top 3 are John Morant, Scottie Pippen Jr., and Desmond Bain. That's no surprise to anybody. The next 4 guys right now are out. Santi Aldama, he's out right now. Marcus Smart, as you mentioned, out. Vince Williams Jr., who is very underrated in that area. In the few games that he did play, he showcased that playmaking in that department as well. And then the other one, is Jake LaRavia. It's been a very underrated part of his game. With Jake LaRavia, he is very good at getting to the paint, touching the paint, and making things happen. After touching the paint, getting the defense to commit to him and kicking the basketball out. So you're missing, basically, after your top 3 assist guy, you're missing the only other 4 guys on the team who average over 3 assists. There's Luke Kennard, who, not to cut him off from the list because I think he's kind of a good secondary playmaker too. Luke Kennard is right behind those guys at 2.9 assists per game. But after that, a huge drop-off all the way down. Like, I think Jaren and Jalen Wells are both at like 1.7 assists, basically under 2 assists. So the point is you're missing not only John Morant, who is your best playmaker, you're missing those guys that you mentioned. Santi is a guy who can get you 5 assists any night. Marcus Smart is a guy who can get you 5 assists any night. These are your best secondary playmakers. When your stars are being doubled and you need other guys to create for your teammates or create for themselves, guys who are comfortable with the basketball, those are those type of guys. So it's not just the fact that you're missing John Morant and his playmaking ability for everybody. You're missing a bunch of guys who kind of connect things. So you need Jalen Wells to showcase, some more of his playmaking. You need Jaren Jackson Jr., who's seeing a lot of doubles. You need him to pass better out of those doubles and things like that. So those are some of the things that it'll come down to for Memphis in this stretch without these guys.
Hey, DeMichael, I want to talk about leadership from the Grizzlies standpoint, and not on the court, but off the court. Leadership upstairs, their job is to correct things. Sometimes as leadership from front offices, they look at the things they do well and just kind of say, hey, let's stand pat. But the things we do not so well, we try to look to improve them. And I'll use my Brett Stats newsworthy quote and say, not to put you in a pickle or a bad situation. So you don't have to use names or anything like that. We can just talk in terms of front court, back court, ball handlers, wing players, things like that. With the trade deadline coming up, what do you see the Grizzlies need to improve on from a front office standpoint?
It to me it comes down to, do you trust the wings? And like I'll say it like this: the Dorian Finney-Smith move, right? That was the one that everyone's been talking about over the course of the weekend. Things like that. Could the Grizzlies get him? And a lot of people were kind of disappointed that they didn't get Dorian Finney-Smith. And I was more like, I didn't care, honestly. Like it didn't move the. If you're getting somebody, I need that player to be a championship needle mover. Dorian Finney-Smith is a championship needle mover for some teams. He's not for the Grizzlies, simply to me because
we already have that player. A lot of them.
Come on. You preaching. That's what it is, honestly. Like, Vince Williams is that type of player.
Mm-hmm.
Jalen Wells, he's young. Like, he's still raw. We saw Jalen Wells shot 2 of 12 in this last game. He's had some other games. Like, I get it if you don't trust him in the playoffs right now, but guess what? He's only played like 30 games. So there's going to be a bigger sample size that comes together. But Vince Williams is someone that I do trust a little bit. Now, the question is, the Grizzlies, they get to see him behind the scenes. They get to see how he's recovering. Vince Williams hasn't played a lot of meaningful basketball since, like, January. And he has only played a couple games since March. So, it's fair to question how he'll look after pretty much, 10 months of limited action. It's fair to question that. But with all that being said, if Vince Williams is the same player who's on the same rise in the progression that we've been seeing, then I don't think Dorian Finney-Smith, for what he was worth, for the price, was that much better of a player than Vince Williams, where it would have made sense for the Grizzlies. So you got some in-house guys who are comparable to that type of skill set. So I do think they need to make a move. Like, it just has to be a needle mover for me. And for me, Cam Johnson is a needle mover. Like, he's a proven knockdown shooter. This is a guy, you can go look at some NBA Finals highlights, and you'll see him knocking down three-pointers in the NBA Finals. You'll see him knocking down three-pointers in the Western Conference Finals. Same thing with Dorian Finney-Smith. But he's a proven shot maker. He's been consistent. Like, that was a big thing for me. Like, Dorian Finney-Smith is of high demand because he's shooting a career high 43% from three-point range this year. Cam Johnson, he doesn't shoot that exact number every year, but he's around that. He's 40% for his career. Like, this is just what he does. Mm-hmm. So you talk about the fact that the Grizzlies could get a guy, 6'9", switchable defender, can guard multiple positions. He fits, and he's a needle mover, in my opinion. So I think that's kind of the type of guy that they need to covet. Now, there's going to be if you saw what Dorian Finney-Smith went for, imagine if he went for 3 seconds. Imagine what Cam Johnson, who is a considerably better player, is going to go for. I think there is something to be said about that price. But that's the type of player that the Grizzlies should try to covet. I think at this time, but people don't want to hear it. But the Grizzlies do have the ability where they have a lot of internal guys who are very young, which means the way they're playing right now will probably be different from how they're playing later on in the season. Mm-hmm. So I think, like, one area, for example, that I think the Grizzlies need to get better at is they need another shot creator. They need another bucket getter. Jaren Jackson Jr. is the only player in the starting lineup who rates above league average as an isolation scorer. Ja Morant is somewhere in the 30th percentile. Desmond Bane is roughly 35th percentile. They're both below league average as isolation scorers, and these are the guys that take the most shots. That doesn't really matter over the course of the game, but it'll matter late in fourth quarters, and we've seen a couple times against really big-time opponents where the Grizzlies have kind of crumbled late in fourth quarters. But guess what? A guy who I think can be a great isolation scorer? G.G. Jackson. He can be that type of guy. He's a guy who puts the ball on the cut, 6'9", walking mismatch. He can do some of those things, but, it's going to take some time for us to see that. Like, he'll probably be back early February, late January, however that pans out. But that's kind of the archetype, because you said I didn't have to say names, so I'll say archetype. You need. I think this team is lacking that another isolation scorer, bucket getter, and they need another proficient, elite level knockdown shooter. That's it. I think they got the defenders.
Quickly, do you know the timelines or the time frames we are on for Gigi and Vince's returns?
Yeah, I think both of those guys. I think Vince is probably a little bit earlier. Been seeing him walking around and whatnot. I know Gigi's been kind of doing some training stuff. He's been breaking some sweats too, but he's got to build up, the strength back on his foot as well. So I think roughly late January, mid to late January, possibly early February for both of those dudes.
Mm-hmm. You mentioned Jalen Wells a couple minutes ago. He is so much fun to watch on the defensive end of the court, and you see he's getting some of the toughest matchups on the court. We didn't talk with you last week, so I don't think we talked about the Warriors game where he was matched up against Steph for most of the night, and Steph was held without a field goal in that game. Watching the other night against the Clippers, and he gets James Harden, who has made his money on ISO ball and getting one-on-ones, and they're forced to set pick and rolls to try to get James Harden or try to get Jalen Wells off of James Harden, give him some separation to try to get a shot. What have you seen from this young guy taking that role defensively so early on in his career?
He ain't scared.
Yeah.
I mean, it's super impressive to me because I try to bring it out of him, but I get why he wants to, kind of reserve some of the fan side of it. But I'm like, come on, man, like you just got thrown on LeBron James in one of your first 25 games, like come on, don't act like that's normal, like, and he's like, I mean, it's my assignment, and I'm like, come on, like, he's guarding Steph Curry, but he's kind of the type of guy that you want to do it, and it's crazy because him and Vince Williams, I think they both are those type of guys, but in different ways. Vince Williams is more that irritant, right? He's the guy, he's going to get under their skin. He's going to have them complaining to the refs and things like that. Jalen is more of like a silent assassin. Mm-hmm. Like, he's going to compete hard, and you're going to be the one, you're going to be trying to get stuff out of him. You're going to be wanting to get him to say stuff, and he's not going to, like Jalen Wells said, like, dudes will trash talk to him, and he'll just look at him and smile. Like, he'll just look at him. Like, he's not your typical Grizzlies trash talker like Ja, Dez, and so many these other guys that we've seen. So he does it in a different way, but he does it in a way that's, that kind of fits, his playing style. He's silent with it, but it's an area that he's still growing in. Like you mentioned the James Harden game, I think that was a big learning lesson for him because for the most of that game, James Harden couldn't get anything on him. Mm-hmm. And then late in the game, when it was money time, James Harden was getting a couple calls here, a couple calls there, and you could tell, like, it was bothering him a little bit.
Yeah, no, he has been really fun to watch. Talking to Michael Cole, the Grizzlies beat writer for the Commercial Appeal. Last week, DeMichael, you had a story in the Commercial Appeal about Yuki and the impact he has made in the Grizzlies' viewership numbers in Japan.
High last night.
Yeah, their merchandise, the sales numbers in Japan. What did you learn in that story that you maybe previously didn't know? Did we lose to Michael? There you are.
Yeah, I'm here.
We lost
there
you
we
for
go.
a second.
Yeah.
Yuki makes you think.
The main thing with Yuki, man, is it's not just his the ability of him being this Japanese-born player who is, a rarity. He's the fourth Japanese-born player in NBA history. It's not just that, even though that's a pretty big, significant part of it. Mm-hmm. He's relatable. He's a 5'8" basketball player, right? Like, a lot of people watch Yuki and they feel like watching him, like, we can be him. We can be Yuki. And that's how a lot of fans, like, that's why you go on the road in Washington and Portland, and fans are saying, we want Yuki. We want Yuki. But, yeah, he's done a significant, he's been a significant addition to the Grizzlies off the floor. I mean, the numbers were just staggering to me, just seeing how people said, it's not even just Japan. It's Taiwan. It's all of Southeast Asia, right? It's all these different spots in Southeast Asia that have basically become Grizzlies fans. And the biggest part of that to me was how they surpassed the Lakers and the Warriors. Yeah. And those are the two teams that Asian communities have been soaking up those teams for years. Like, with the Lakers, of course, there's Rui Hachimura, and then there's just the Lakers draw, and then San Francisco and that Bay Area has always been, like, connected to the Asian community. And, of course, they have Steph Curry, and that makes it even bigger. But the fact that the Grizzlies have become the number one team in Asia because of Yuki Kawamura is special.
I mean, I love talking about Yuki's hoods. I mean, just listen to it. We're talking about Yuki's hoods. All right, DeMichael. February 16th, we wake up. That's Sunday, the All-Star game. How many NBA All-Stars does the Grizzlies have? And will Jenkins be the coach? We are right now, 4 games back? Five.
Yeah.
Ooh, we're 5 games back to try to catch the Thunder.
Yeah.
So, question, how many All-Stars we got in this Jenkins sitting on that bench?
I think you got 1 All-Star.
Okay. And his name is?
Jaren Jackson Jr.
Okay.
Yeah. Only because of, the injury. Like, if we were talking about this a week ago, I would have said that there's a decent chance that the Grizzlies get 2 with Ja, with Jaren. But with Ja being out, it's going to be tough for him because he's going to miss some more time. And it'll come down to the coaches. And we'll see, how coaches weigh availability and things like that. But, it's not looking too great, I would say. So, Jaren Jackson Jr. is your all-star. But, I mean, on the bright side, they could have 2, maybe even 3 guys in the Rising Stars game.
Yeah.
I think Zach Edey's a given. I think Jalen Wells is a given. Yeah. Yuki might get there.
Based off of his hoods voting.
Yuki might be in the Rising Stars game. Don't sleep on it. It's a possibility.
That would be awesome. Well, DeMichael, as always, thanks so much for joining us.
I guess that's a big no that Jenkins won't be on the bench. We won't catch the Thunder.
No,
yeah.
We won't catch the Thunder.
It ain't happening.
It's going to be really tough. Well, DeMichael, Happy New Year, and we'll talk to you again next Monday.
All right, take care, guys.
Thanks, Happy New Year, man. Happy New Year.
DeMichael.
Landon, have you voted for Yuki in the All-Star game? What?
Who hasn't?
That sounded fake. I don't think he's actually.
Hey, man, who knows?
Hey, man, I have voted for 2 things this season.
Come on.
For Nick Westbrook-Akine to get into the Pro Bowl for the Titans because I think he deserves it. He's been the most consistent Titan to date. And then voting for Yuki multiple times.
And did you catch it on the dates where your vote counted twice yet?
Nope.
I voted once already. I think it counted twice on one of those times.
I'm not really an all-star. I'm not really an all-star.
Come on, man. You got to help us get you. How can we get Yuki there without the help of the great Brian Dacus? How can we do
I don't know if it can be done.
It cannot be done without
we need
supporting
Brian on the Yuki
sir.
train.
I didn't even know. I'll be honest. Didn't really know Yuki was a possibility to make the Rising Stars
I mean, in all honesty, you got to think it goes back to the Yao Ming effect. Like, literally, Shaq should have started that All-Star game. He was, for lack of better words, the MVP of the said year.
That's right.
But having such a huge contingency overseas, it was Yao by a big amount. And not saying it's going to happen with Yuki, but we've seen, foreign lands take over our NBA draft. But luckily, I think they changed the format. It used to be 50% of the vote. Now the fan is just 25. They kind of suppress how loud the fans vote can be.
Yeah. So, hey, I mean, we'll see. Maybe he gets in there. I mean, that'd be fun. I like it. Why not? But
boost
we'll
the ratings, I think.
When does the voting close? Do we know when the voting closes?
Ooh, when does vote? Should be a couple of weeks from now. They still have a couple of weeks to
it's not
go.
till February. The All-Star game is.
NBA voting clues. Let's see, guys. Did not give me immediate deal.
That's fine. We'll figure it out later. I probably won't vote if we're being honest, but
January 20.
Oh, so you plenty of time. You got a whole month.
Yeah, I'm right around January 20. Yep.
Yeah, you got a whole month. Yeah,
get Yuki in the All-Star game.
Go vote.
Get Jaren in the All-Star game.
Get those guys in there. I don't know if I'll be voting or not, but let me tell you
Can't do it without you.
That's right. Yes, your vote matters in the All-Star voting. Well, let me remind you about our 5 o'clock sponsor. It's Jaguar Land Rover Bluff City. Jaguar Bluff City. They've been the premier Jaguar dealership for the greater Memphis area since 1984. Their talented team, they're ready to help you find your next perfect vehicle at unbeatable rates. Swing by Jaguar Land Rover Bluff City today and check out the new 2025 models like the 2025 Range Rover Sport, the 2025 Range Rover Velar, and the 2025 Defender. Test drive the Range Rover Sport, where luxury meets performance. It's a perfect mix of style, performance, and versatility with options ranging from 360 horsepower up to 635. It's also available as a plug-in hybrid electric vehicle with $7,500 federal tax credit when leased with approved credit. Take a look at the Range Rover Velar, powered by mild hybrid technology and enhanced with the latest well-being features and fully connected entertainment system. The Range Rover Velar is the ultimate luxury compact crossover. Purchase yours today and get special 4.4% for 72 months financing available with approved credit. Don't forget about the Defender. Available in multiple models to fit your needs, the Defender is built for the modern explorer, and Jaguar Bluff City is offering special interest rates for 60 and 72 months on various models. Give them a call, 877-259-6169, or visit them online, jaguarbluffcity.com. But make sure you go out there and test drive those vehicles. 6335 Wheel Cove, right there just off of Quince for Bluff City Jaguar. Well, let's get to another break, and when we come back, it'll be time for our Monday Night Football pick and preview.
Get ready for the wrap-up the year sales event at Gossett Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram Fiat on the Pike and save huge 2024 Jeep Grand Wagoneer L Series 3, $23,156 off MSRP. 2024 Jeep Grand Cherokee 4XE 4-wheel drive, $12,319 off MSRP. And 2024 Dodge Hornet RT all-wheel drive, $11,637 off MSRP, or buy it for $32,983 plus 0% for 72 months is available. It's the season to drive past the rest and come to the best at Gossett Chrysler Jeep Dodge Ram Fiat on the Pike, or shop online anytime at GossettMotorcars.net.
If you want it, we got it at Gossett Motorcars.
331 MSRP 123,155, Cherokee RC 106,867, MSRP 65,210, Hornet R3 808,452, MSRP 44,620, includes all rebates and incentives and excludes PF 695, excludes tax, title, and license with approved credit. See dealer for complete details. Dealer stock only.
Hi, this is Troy Five-Ash, owner of Five-Ash Roofing. Did you know there are so many roofing companies in Memphis that I don't even know them all? So that begs the question, which one should you choose? So I thought I'd give you a little background about me. My grandfather was a World War II Marine. My father worked for the University of Memphis for nearly 30 years. My mother, a pianist at Raleigh Baptist Church. Seems like forever. I went to Brownsville Road, Craigmont, and Bartlett High School, class of 81. We support the local school systems, youth athletics, and believe in what St. Jude and Le Bonheur stand for. I'm a Tiger and Grizz fan. The point? Memphis is my home. Five-Ash Roofing will be around if you ever have a problem with the service we provide. Five-Ash Roofing, fair, honest, and ethical, with deep local ties in our community. 367-0050 or memphisroofer.com.
Five-Ash Roofing is what we do. We're here for you.
The Family Leisure floor model sale is happening right now through the end of January. Family Leisure has got to get rid of all the 2024 inventory because all the new 2025 items are starting to arrive. All floor models are up to 50% off. You want a cold plunge tub? They start at $49.99. Go the other route with a hot tub. Get $3,000 off with free steps and chemicals. Family Leisure has pool tables, arcades, ping pong, air hockey, even foosball tables from 20 to 60% off. Want beers in? Family Leisure has floor ceiling up to 75% off. Plus, now's the time to start thinking about pool season. You can buy it and get on the installation schedule and be ready before everyone else. Special financing is also available. If you want to get free delivery on any of these items, you just tell the phone staff at Family Leisure because you heard this commercial. It's the floor model show now through the end of January. Family Leisure, we run I-40. Family and fun come together.
Hungry for that delicious smash burger flavor? Dyer's Cafe is the original smash burger since 1912 and still smashing burgers in Carter, historic Town Square. Come out for the lunch specials Monday through Friday, 11 to 2. Ask about the world famous split dog and authentic Chicago or New York dog. Try the leaner side of Dyer's with a grilled chicken sandwich or freshly made salad. Also serving lakes, Delta-raised catfish, Pasquale's, tamales, and a customer favorite hand-breaded onion. Dyer's, serving world famous burgers, dogs, and shakes in Carter's historic Town Square.
Sports 56 traffic.
Good afternoon. Wrapping up that wreck 40 eastbound right at Sycamore View Road. It was out here long enough to jam up that traffic that's already heavy in this area anyway this time of the afternoon here on 40 eastbound at Sycamore View Road. Again, it's been crawling at times trying to get past Sam Cooper. It's picked up just a bit, but it's been light over there on 240 getting onto 385 Billmores Parkway going outbound. Weimer's Jewelry 7525 Highway 64 is your full service family-owned jewelry store right here in Memphis. I'm Commander Chuck with your on-time traffic.
Hello again, everyone. I'm Howard Cosell. Welcome aboard. ABC's Monday Night Football.
Well, it's Monday evening, so you know what that means. Monday Night Football is just around the corner. And tonight, maybe the forgotten about game Darian brought up earlier today.
Yes.
Everyone building up next week's matchup between Minnesota and Detroit.
I've seen flyers and posters already.
If the 49ers win tonight, then Minnesota would lock up that seed, and there wouldn't be anything to play for next week, really.
Then everyone rests. So fantasy players in championship week.
Yes.
Yeah.
My fantasy week ended last week, I think.
It was last week. Okay.
I think so. I was in the last place game, but that's okay. You know.
I didn't make the playoffs either.
I'm the worst when it comes to fantasy because I'll be like super gung-ho about it. I'll be like, all right, draft.
Yeah.
First couple of weeks of
Then
season,
you're out,
I'm like,
then
let's
you're
go.
out.
And then I'm like, all right, I can't.
Okay, quick sidebar to our fantasy draft that I was in, obviously, with Mr. Matt Enfield. I found out last week that there was a $25 buy-in. Had no idea. I was playing the entire season. I got kind of pissed when I got knocked out, obviously, and I found out that I could have won north of $300.
That's great. I love that. I love that. Yeah.
Kind of messed up, man.
I'll pay the buy-ins, but I'm usually
I paid it. You know, of course, I paid it, but I had no idea that I could win. I was serious. I guess I'm saying that to say, hey, I was serious without even knowing about the cash payout.
See, I know there's money involved, and I just get to the point where
I guess I forgot.
I end up forgetting to set my lineups, and it just becomes an issue. And then I'm on a 3-game losing streak. I'm like, okay, that's not fantasy for me this year. But tonight, an interesting matchup: Detroit and San Francisco. We're gonna play this game off of 3.5. Detroit.
Yep.
A 3.5 point favorite. And this is interesting. I just saw this on Twitter, so I made sure to save it to bring it up. 90% of bets are on the Lions minus 3.5 against San Francisco. And that terrifies me because usually when all of the bets are on one side, usually that means the other side covers. So I think, we can maybe see a cover in this one. But let's go ahead and make some picks.
Also, hey, remember this quick rule. Okay. Home field is worth what? 3 points, right? What's the spread? The spread is 3.5. Yeah. So technically, they think that Detroit is half a point favorite? Or, I ain't buying it.
No, I don't either. So what is your pick for tonight's game?
And even with that said, I'm giving it 3.5. I'm giving it with Detroit. So
yeah, I'm gonna take Detroit as well in this one. I just think they
got something to play for.
They're the better team. Yeah. I think they're not gonna lose an opportunity for next week.
Anybody that eats kneecaps this time of year?
No, thank you. Brett's gonna take Detroit. It's his Detroit line, so of course he's gonna take Detroit. And Connor's taking Detroit as well. Landon, I know you're not a part of the rankings or anything, or the record.
Last Monday night football game of the year, sir. What you got?
What's your pick?
Once again, thank you for that anecdote reminding me I'm not a part of this.
Well, yeah.
I'm going to take Brett's lines as well.
Okay, so a mega group lock on the Detroit Lions. What could possibly go wrong? That means everyone run to your sports books right now and take San Francisco plus 3.5. Our Big Four today, the Big Four current players that will be active tonight. 2 lists, one for the 49ers, one for the Lions. Mr. 49ers.
Gotcha.
Why don't you start with your 49ers list?
All righty. At 4, I'm going to go with Nicholas Bosa.
Nick Bosa at 4.
Yep, Nicholas Bosa at 4.
I'm not mad at it.
Mr. Brock Purdy at 3.
Okay.
Mr. Frederick Warner at 2.
Okay.
And I'm nothing without Trent Williams, baby, at number 1.
It's a good one. It's a good one.
So I got Bosa, Fred Warner, Mr. Purdy, Trent Williams.
That's a good one.
And the naysayers may say, hey, where's Christian McCaffrey? I kind of lost a little bit.
He's not eligible for
this one. He's not eligible, but I kind of lost a little bit of that luster when I saw Mason go in and do what he does. I said, yeah, you're a system guy? You know, so hey, you know, I kept it 100.
I'll go with Brett's big 4 for the 49ers. He has Kyle Juszczyk at number 4.
Love some Kyle Juszczyk.
Good player.
Pro Bowl.
Number 3, he has George Kittle. Number 2, he has Nick Bosa. And number 1, he has Deebo Samuel.
Deebo, okay.
You didn't have
I was close to saying, in all honesty, because I guess Juszczyk will get some kind of Hall of Fame look because he is one of the top fullbacks of all time.
That's right.
But with that, I can't say Deebo is a future Hall of Famer. I was about to say, hey, Brett threw out 4 possible future Hall of Famers.
Yeah.
I was looking for McCaffrey or someone. But McCaffrey's not. Yeah.
That's right.
But Deebo? Come on. I love Deebo, but, you know.
Yeah. Landon, do you have a 49ers list?
I do.
Please.
Come on, man.
I have both of them. My number 4, shockingly, is the same as Brett's. I got Kyle Juszczyk on there as well.
Okay.
Smart, man. I always liked you, Landon.
Yeah. Oh, I've always liked you too, Darren. I mean, been the most consistent guy on the 49ers for I can't even remember how long. I love that dude. My number 3, I have Nick Bosa. My number 2, I have George Kittle. And number 1, I love me some Fred Warner.
Gotcha.
It's a good list. It's a good list. Mine, number 4, I also have Deebo Samuels. Love receivers, so I have
It got to be because he has the radio coming out. That's why y'all like him, because he has the big radio leading the pack coming out.
No, I didn't like Deebo. After what I saw from him in the last couple of weeks.
Hey, let's not let a couple weeks sway our big 4.
I think it all went downhill when he changed his number.
I'm still going to have Deebo at number 4. Number 3, George Kittle. I mean, one of the best tight ends in football.
He's been the best tight end statistically this year in the NFL.
He's been fantastic year after year, and I think gets underlooked because he's not as flashy as just a pass catcher. He's doing a lot of the nitty-gritty blocking and all of that stuff. I love George Kittle.
Until him and Juszczyk score together, then they talk to their wives.
Yes, that's right. Number 2 for me, Fred Warner. I love some Fred Warner, so I had to get him in my top 2. But number 1, maybe one of the best defensive players in the game, Nick Bosa, has to be number 1 for me. I will start with Brett's Lions, so I will start with his big 4 for the Lions. Number 4, Sam Laporta, the young tight end.
Laportier.
Number 3, Amon-Ra St. Brown. Kind of low for Amon-Ra St. Brown. Number 2, Brian Branch. And number 1, Jared Goff. Landon, why don't you give us your Detroit Lions?
All right. At number 4 is where I have Brian Branch. My number 3, I have Penei Sewell.
That's a good one.
Love
that
guy.
is awesome, dude.
It's a really good one.
That's awesome.
I love that
Shout out
guy.
to Oregon.
Yeah. Number 2, I have Jahmyr Gibbs. Definitely picking up the running game since David Montgomery's out. Golly, the dude's so fast. And
over 1,000-yard rusher.
Yeah. And my number 1, Jared Goff.
It's a good one.
Okay. All right.
Darren?
I'm up. Okay.
Yeah, go for it.
Bring my list back up. Okay, so kind of pointed to, I gave you love for that one, man. Penei Sewell, number 4. Zadarius Smith, the trade acquisition.
It's a good one. It's a good one.
Number
he was
3.
My OLI, outside looking in. Yeah.
Bingo, you nailed it.
You said it right.
You already picked it
up.
I got it with the OLI.
I pay attention sometimes.
I had Sewell there. Then we had the big trade acquisition, Zadarius Smith, Mr. Amon-Ra St. Brown, got to get that right, and Jared Goff. We're gonna let him have the number 1 spot. Man. He's earned it, dude.
Jerry taking number 1.
He's earned it. He's the leader of the team. As much as I want to knock him and call him a fair weather guy, right now he's earning it. He's been to a Super Bowl previously at different friends. He's earned it. That's how you earn it.
I agree.
Number 4 for me, Jake Bates, what he has done in the kicking game cannot be overlooked. Kickers are people too.
Kicker
You gotta
lives
give him
matter.
some love. I'm going to put him at number 4. Number 3, Jahmyr Gibbs, what he's doing. You have that split backfield for most of the season. But
Sonic
he is a
and Tails,
fantastic
right?
player.
Sonic and Knuckles.
That's
Sonic
right.
and Knuckles.
That's right. Number 2, Jared Goff, because when you're making a list like this, you got to go with the best player on the field. And the best player on this Detroit Lions team is Amon-Ra St. Brown. There's no question about it. He's one of the best players in the NFL. How can he not be number 1? He's number 1 for me.
I mean, you say he's the best player, but I mean,
I didn't say he's the best.
There's a guy on this team that has caught a thrown touchdowns and caught one too, right? Hadn't Goff caught a touchdown this year?
Has he?
Yeah, I think he caught one from St. Brown, right?
I think that's
yeah. So he's throwing and catching them, baby.
Well, Amon-Ra's
I guess he
throwing
threw it.
them.
I guess he threw it too. Yeah, I forgot about that side of the argument.
We can make both those arguments.
Hey, so nothing's better than listening to John Harden on the radio. So earlier, John Harden made
risky move.
Nothing is better because John said he loves watching football while sitting in that very seat that Bryant is sitting in, and I just kind of felt his love. I'm like, what are you talking about? I'm watching the old highlights of the Lions and the 49ers as we talk about it. So I'm seeing Joe Montana, and this stat pops up.
Okay.
Boom! I take a picture of it because we don't have like the ability to pause or whatnot. So check this out. The Lions losing streak at the 49ers. So whether it's in Levi Stadium or God bless it, Candlestick Park, man, 14 straight games they've lost coming to the West Coast. Tied for 6th longest losing streak versus an opponent all time. The last win, gentlemen, I should probably save this for my big number. 1975.
Wow.
Week 7, the last time the Motown Lions have come to the West Coast and won in San Francisco. Long time.
That's crazy.
Long time.
Crazy.
None of us were born.
No.
It's one of those things. None of us were. Brett was. None of us were born in. That was even before my time, man. So 1975. So if you believe in streaks, hey, doesn't have to give tonight, but hey, 14 straight games.
Wow, I didn't know
that.
Yeah, but nothing better than daytime sports that you can just have on in here while you're working. It's like any other job. You like watching sports while you're working, and so that's the joy of having this television in here. But no, hope it's a good game tonight. I think Vegas at least thinks it could be competitive. 3.5 on the road is still a lot of points. So I don't know how this game plays out. Detroit's been so good. I mean, I think back, what was it, a couple weeks ago? I don't remember who Detroit was playing, but it was one of those games where it was right after, they had the back-to-back weeks where it felt like everybody was getting injured, and it felt like everyone was saying, no, you can't bet on the Lions this weekend because they've got so many injuries.
Was it Buffalo?
Really trust them. I think it was Buffalo. Let's see. I've got their schedule pulled up here.
So Green Bay, they played Green Bay recently and kind of beat them.
Let's see.
Kind of out on Green Bay, too, after yesterday, y'all.
Really?
They can't beat the Lions or Minnesota, so they're going to be a wild card. So what's their route? Like, they're
what?
good, but what's their route?
I'm kind of with you. I heard somebody compare them to to Miami, where they're beaten up on bad teams, but when they play good teams, they really struggle. And now what's tough for them is their division outside the Bears is awesome. I mean, everyone's so good in their division. I remember what game it was. It was the Bears last week. So because they didn't play yesterday, I was thinking that it wasn't the game yesterday, but obviously they didn't play yesterday. So last week against the Bears, coming off that loss against the Bills, all these injuries piling up, everyone was saying they were Detroit was like a 7.5-point favorite over Chicago. Everyone's saying you can't bet on, I'm looking at these like national guys on television and on the internet, and everyone's saying you can't bet on Detroit because they have all these injuries and, they just lost, maybe they're out of whack. And they go out there and kill the Bears. I mean, 34-17. Now the Bears are awful. Like, don't get me wrong on anything, but they're terrible. But I think this Lions team can beat just about anybody in pretty much.
Quick high heart one for you both while we're talking NFL. Who's not the MVP? Like just from whatever your criteria is. Most impressive individual performance this season? Not one game, but who's been the most impressive player to you? I'll give you guys some think about it quickly. Mine is Sam Darnold. Think about what he's gone through from the Jets to the Panthers.
That's a good one.
He came to the 49ers. Hell, I wasn't quite sure why he was even there. And then he goes to Minnesota and has an opportunity to play for the number 1 seed. Zero people, I'll say it again, 0 people saw this coming from the Minnesota Vikings. Not a number 1 seeded performance for a season. Kevin McConnell, shout out, man. Like, just impressive for me. It's been Darnold, man.
He's definitely going to win.
It's been Darnold, man.
Comeback Player of the Year. I mean, what he's been doing is incredible. I'd probably say him. I would probably say maybe like Baker Mayfield. I know that kind of
Baker's been good this year.
To last year.
And he just signed that contract too, right?
Yeah.
So this is the year. So he didn't fizzle out when he got his money. Okay.
Yeah, so he's been really good. I mean, if you're not talking about like more like comeback players,
whatever your criteria is.
Saquon, how could you argue?
That's been impressive. Leaving the Giants,
what he's done
giving
now,
up on him.
You know, surpassing 2,000, having an opportunity to break the record, and that behind the back hurdle. I mean, that might be mine. I mean, that was crazy. That was insane. Landon, do you have a nominee?
Yeah. Mine has got to be Bo Nix.
That's a good one.
Bo Nix,
surprisingly good is what I say.
Well, the thing is every time I've watched the Broncos play, it's rare to see a quarterback who's a rookie already look so comfortable in the pocket. Like you're looking at, Caleb Williams. I mean, Jaden Daniels is having an incredible year. Probably going to be rookie.
Man, we didn't even say him. Yeah.
I mean, he's been doing incredible. But I just look at the poise that Bo Nix has with that Broncos offense, and it just looks like he's been there for a long time. So he's been the most surprising to me. I've loved watching him, and and kind of like the same thing with your guy. I don't think anybody saw this coming from Bo Nix. Right. Nobody saw at the beginning of the year said that the Denver Broncos were going to be competing for the playoffs this year.
Very impressive. That OLI? Did I get it right?
OLI.
I got it. Malik Neighbors is awesome.
Yeah, no,
Malik Neighbors is awesome.
Game?
Yesterday,
I'll say it again. Malik Neighbors is awesome.
Great.
If they get them a quarterback, shout out to Drew Lock yesterday.
Yeah, he was really good. Well, let's get to our final break of the day. When we come back, we'll wrap up today's show with Crunch Time.
Join the voice of the Tigers, Dave Woloshin, for Wolo and Friends. Weekday mornings from 10 to 11 here on Sports 56 and 98.5 FM.
Efficiency planting solution. The Case IH 2150 early riser planter combines the industry's most accurate planter technologies with a run-and-row unit for fast and uniform emergence. The Case IH 2150 early riser operates at your speed and adapts to unique field conditions so you can maximize your yield potential. Stop in and call Mid-South Ag Equipment at 662-890-3141 to learn more. That's Mid-South Ag, your Case IH equipment headquarters.
Hi, this is Lauren Choate with Choate's Air Conditioning, Heating, and Plumbing. Burst pipes can be real headaches, especially with the increasing deep freezes. But don't worry, Choate's has solutions by winterizing your home's plumbing pipes. Our smart water monitor and shutoff system detects leaks and can automatically shut off your water to prevent even bigger leaks. We guarantee your outside faucet won't ever freeze with our Freeze Miser upgrade. And don't forget about heat tape we can install for drains and water pipes, keeping them from freezing down to -40 degrees. Concerned about water quality? The Halo Whole Home Water Filtration System filters out pollutants, ensuring clean showers and pure drinking water for your family. For a free estimate on safeguarding your plumbing system or filtrating your water, give Choates a call at 347-8086. And remember, Choates, let our family serve your family.
Locally owned and operated for over 40 years, Automatic Gates Construction tailors custom gate solutions for all your residential, commercial, and industrial needs, including repairs, maintenance, and installation. Automatic Gates Construction specializes in designing and installing automatic gates and fencing that seamlessly blends security, functionality, and aesthetic appeal. Elevate the safety and efficiency of your property with a premium gate solution. Automatic Gates Construction at myautomaticgates.com.
Napa Cafe celebrates 26 years in 2024. Hi, I'm Glenda Hastings, owner of Napa Cafe, and I want to thank you for making us part of your dining experiences. Treat yourself tonight with a delightful dinner. Maybe start with an appetizer like our baked sweet peculiar peppers stuffed with goat cheese and mozzarella, finished with basil pistou, and move on to one of our cozy dishes like the double chocolate stout braised boneless beef short ribs with tonkatsu sauce and creamy mashed potatoes, or a fresh seafood dish like our pan-roasted ginger buttered sea bass with cilantro soy vinaigrette. I get hungry just talking about it. Don't forget about dessert, our famous sweet buttermilk pie with brown sugar sauce, or drink your dessert with one of our signature dessert cocktails, like the lemon cheesecake martini, lemony, icy, frothy, and dusted with graham cracker crumbs. Napa Cafe, open Wednesday through Saturday for dinner starting at 5 o'clock. For reservations, visit our website at napacafe.com. Come join us as we celebrate 26 years of Napa Cafe. We can't wait to serve you.
This is pretty cool, and we're just getting started, so.
Spanning the globe.
Go crazy, folks! Go crazy!
This is for all the biggest crunch time.
You are looking live. In your life have you seen anything like that? Goodbye! Hello, Haskins.
It's obviously crunch time.
Hammer, nail, coffin. This baby is over.
Well, Darian, what I learned today, pretty short and sweet. Clemson quarterback Cade Klubnik has announced that he'll be returning in 2025. It's not a huge surprise. You know, he had a really good season, but I don't think he was anywhere on any draft boards or anything. He was not in that kind of upper echelons of quarterback. So it makes sense that he's coming back. But when you look back at him returning, being a veteran quarterback, coming back to Clemson, and you look at some of those other weapons that are returning at Clemson, Dabo is actually going out and getting a couple guys out of the transfer portal. This feels like a lot of guys coming back. And Pete Thamel put this tweet out saying, Klubnik will return as part of a strong nucleus, O-line, wide receivers, DL, DBs that should have Clemson projected as a top 5 team in 2025. So it looks like Clemson, Dabo gets all the hate for a lot of different things, but year in, year out, he's right there, and it looks like everything's shaping up for him to have another really good team next year.
All right, what I learned today
there's your guy, Patrick Willis on
Hey, little P. Willie. I think I'm the only person in the building that doesn't have a picture with him. Shout out to Brett and John Harden.
I don't have a picture with him.
Man, what I learned is the sky is still blue and the sun will still come out. The Memphis Tigers did exactly what they were supposed to do. They went 3-1 on this, what we were looking at as the toughest part of this season. We know we let a stinker loose. The Mississippi State game was the stinker. But from all intents and purposes, everyone said in this order, we'll take 2-2. We want 3-1. We love 4-0. We got 3-1, people.
Yeah. No, it's really good. Really good, and the way they were able to do that. I mean, Clemson, they come back and force overtime, and Memphis is still able to withstand that on the road.
The 3 looked good, the 1 did not. We'll take it.
Yeah, Virginia, you had to come back in the second half and win that game, and then Ole Miss, you really won it convincingly. So, yeah, I think you got to be happy with the way they won that game.
Absolutely. Shout out P. Willie again.
Here's what I could have done without. ESPN. On ESPN Plus right now, in honor of LeBron James's 40th birthday, ESPN Plus put together the best NBA, college, and high school basketball players from age 40 down to 14. Would you care to guess who the best 14-year-old in the country, according to ESPN, is?
Once upon a time, and I know you watch this back to you, watch me touch your Houston roots. Okay. Andre Allen Jr., once upon a time, his dad, Andre Allen Sr., Longview Middle School, my alma mater as well, he was the number 1 8th grader in the country. You know it?
I did not.
He was the number 1 basketball player by far anywhere, the same way LeBron was, so on and so forth. So I'm not sure. Who you got?
We got to draw the line at some point. I mean, ranking 8th graders, what is 14? 14 that's 8th grade, I guess.
Yeah.
I mean, that's
I think so. Yeah.
It's too young. That is way too young.
But hey, the eyeballs that he got back then,
that's true. That's true.
Having the number one player in your city and your school is kind of cool.
See, that's different. That's before the age of social media, mixtapes, and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Nowadays, these kids, you give them, you tell them they're number one in 8th grade, and that can mess up a lot of things in terms of development because you think, I'm number one, I can do whatever I want. You don't know anything about the game of
They
basketball.
go Central Florida on you and make a banner for themselves.
Yes. Number 4, or the best 14-year-old according to ESPN, J.J. Crawford, the son of Jamal Crawford.
Ooh,
so how about that?
Okay.
Cool.
Jeans in the jeans, man.
Guess we'll see in 5 years where he's ending up and going to college.
Obviously, best 40-year-old was what? LeBron. He was
40, of course, was LeBron.
Who was 39? That's my only guess.
39. Chris Paul.
Okay.
Al Horford,
whatever.
38. Mike Conley, 37. How about that?
Shout out Mike Conley.
Yeah.
All right, what I could have done without. Okay, sad news. Get back to it right quick. Mr. Gumbo, Greg Gumbo.
Man.
That's what I could have done without. For all of my life, I hear Vern Lundquist. I hear man. I mean, along with Greg Gumbo. Greg Gumbo obviously was on the desk. So my question is, who's going to replace him? I know they've had the Charles Barkleys and the Kenny Smiths and them kind of join in, but they're not in that anchor seat.
Yeah.
So maybe EJ finally does slide over to that seat for CBS, but I'm going to miss the hell out of Greg Gumbo. Salute to you, sir.
The face of March Madness.
The face, voice, all of it, man.
Yeah, it really, really a shame. Where are you beaming tonight?
Beam me to I almost said Candlestick. Man. Beam me to Levi Stadium, man. I just saw P. Willie. P. Willie's in the house. You got Goat Fuel that is Jerry Rice with this chain on. Just get me there. Just get me there for the last game. I don't know if we got another home game. See, as you can see, I've checked out on this. But just get me there so I can see this 15th loss in a row from the Detroit Lions.
You have certainly checked out on your 49ers. Beam me there as well. Monday Night Football should be fun. Some good games in the NBA tonight. Not a ton in college basketball, but that's all the time we have today. A reminder, we will be off tomorrow and Wednesday. We'll be back with you on Thursday. So Happy New Year's. We still will have live programming here on Sports 56 throughout the day tomorrow up until 1 o'clock. But enjoy your night. Remember, you can catch Monday Night Football right here starting at 6:30. We'll talk to you again Thursday afternoon.
Hello, sports fans out there. Walker Taylor here with the Germantown and Collierville Commissary. We just celebrated our 43rd year in business, and I would like to thank our fantastic customers and especially our loyal staff. Time has flown by. We now have a second location, Poplar and Houston Levy in Collierville. Catering is a specialty of ours. 50 to 5,000, no job too small, no job too big. Full service or self-service. We also have a party room in Collierville that is great for rehearsal dinners, business meetings, you name it.